important thing at this point.
And, you know, the fact that we're alive and we're well, in spite of all that has happened, it is something to celebrate.
It is. I think everybody, but especially every Nigerian, should at this point celebrate yourself, celebrate God, celebrate your source. You know, 366 days of ups and downs. I don't know if we had some middles in between, but certainly a lot of ups and downs, and you're able to smile on this final day, then we should celebrate.
Oh man, the prices of whatever it is has increased. The price of maintaining your lifestyle has been what it is. Medical, health, education. What sector is it that's not been affected?
Or you've had to change your lifestyle.
Adjust to the current realities.
Exactly.
As they say, cutting your cloth according to the, what was it? Cutting your cloth according to the cloth.
At this point.
At this point.
But it's been actually really pleasant. I know the interesting thing is when you look really close, you would see the good, you would see the bad, you would see the wins, you would see the losses, and you would know that you can be hopeful for a better year ahead in a couple of hours. So,
in no distant time from now, we'll be looking at a number of other issues. As promised yesterday, we would like to begin with the areas in which lives have been affected at different parts of our country, and looking at the area of poverty reduction, and so many other things along that line. Of course, we've talked about a number of things.
Ayo, is also a major one we'll be looking at today. We've had a lot of, this year we had the emergence of Lakurua. I don't know if that's...
Lakurawa.
You know, we weren't done with Boko Haram, IPOB, kidnapping. And, you know, we had that staggering figure, 2.2 billion spent on ransom. And then after that, the NBS website crashed. So we don't know what to make of that figure. But, you know, having that from an official source actually does bring something. And the stampede is a major one also. When we saw the one in Ibadan, just before we could commiserate with that loss, then we saw from our own federal capital territory, and then we had to go to Anambra. And a lot of people say this is because of poverty. Others say it's organizational skills needed in the process, you know, of sharing this relief materials. And,
you know, one thing that I always say is people live within the federal government of Nigeria, but they live in states. However,
and in
local communities. Yeah. But at the end of the day, whenever anyone is going to talk, the first port of call is the federal government. What is the federal government doing about this? So before let's jump into this conversation this evening with the focus on the humanitarian situation in Nigeria, reflections and projections, an overview of key issues and agenda for the year ahead. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction joins us in our Abuja studio, Professor Nentawe Goshwe Yilwata. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Ayo. Thank you, Nigerians.
Let me begin with from the soft side, sir. How do you feel when you see the people that you have to be concerned about in the different parts of the country, the people in whose lives you have to intervene? How does it feel for you, first of all?
You know, there's this emotional attachment anytime you look at the tasks before me. The fact that this is a difficult time for everybody globally. We have so many global challenges, from economic challenges, security challenges, to also climate change that has affected and, you know, caused hardship in so many parts of the world, and even Nigeria especially. Flooding, climate change affecting crops and farming outputs. So you have so much task before you that you have to achieve. And I have to work with not just my ministry alone, other ministries that are involved in, intervening in poverty issues. I'll give an example. Ministry of Agri is involved in some intervention to ensure that we provide food security for the people who are at the lower end. Just last month and part of this month also, they've shared material for dry season farming to see if we could meet up with the food security intervention at the lower end of the this thing. And I know just 2 weeks ago, they were in my state, in Plateau State, and some few states to share, in the north especially, where dry season is prominent, to share, materials, farm inputs for farmers, to dry season farmers, in critical food that we, stable food that we require in Nigeria. And not just that alone, Ministry of Labor through NDE are creating new set of jobs of over 90,000 against next year. They set a portal already for that purpose, and and several other sectors that are working on poverty reduction program, not just my own ministry alone. So when you look up, it's not just me alone, but the president has directed that almost all ministries should work where there are opportunities of creating jobs, where there are opportunities of intervening to reduce the pain on Nigerians. We should go ahead and ensure that we work on that. And I'm just midwiving the other ministers and other ministries in terms of poverty reduction, coordinating activities to ensure that we meet those targets that the president has given us.
Honorable Minister, yesterday, or was it the day before yesterday, we were talking about the flooding in different parts of the country and the effect it had on food security and the impact it had on increasing poverty figures, affecting humanitarian lives and all of that. It raised a question, just as I asked yesterday from one of our guests, the collaboration between ministries, because flooding is an environmental affair, but it directly affects humanitarian affairs, and it directly results in poverty when people's livelihoods are washed away. And we know that generally, the Ministry of the Environment, one ministry, department or agency or the other, from that ministry would send out word to the different state governments and say, look, this is going to happen here, that is going to happen there. So it just begs the question whether or not there is significant collaboration between your ministry and the Ministry of the Environment, and perhaps even the related agencies under that ministry, to help ensure that poverty figures are not as bad as they are now.
Very well. I can give you the provided data of all the areas that were affected by flood to my ministry, and we're working on those data. Using those data, we're intervening in different ways. On the 8th of January, that's in 8 days to come, we will be in Bauchi. We'll work in collaboration with Red Cross and ECOWAS to provide relief materials for all the people that were affected by the flooding in Bauchi. We're doing the same thing in Borno, and we're doing the same thing in some other parts of the country also. It's a collaboration between my ministry, ECOWAS, and Red Cross. In the same manner also, we're working with the same Ministry of Environment, NEMA. We're also intervening in Bayelsa State, where there's flood took place. What we're doing there, in most of this, we're working on long-term solution. That's durable solution for the people who are affected. Not just giving them relief material alone, but in Bayelsa, we're providing solar fridges for women so that they can store catches from their fishes for long-term solution for them who are affected. We're providing boats, fishing boats. We're providing fishing nets for those communities that were affected also in the first quarter of next year. Already, the president has given us go ahead to do that, and already most of the procurement are in the process. And once that is done, we'll deliver it to Bayelsa State. In Benue State, we are doing something different. We're working with people affected, both the IDPs and people affected by the flooding, to ensure that they do dry season farming. So we're working with NALDA so they can cultivate 1,000 hectares of land for the people who are affected for dry season farming in rice. And we're also doing the same thing in cassava for dry season farming in Benue State. In Nasarawa State, we're doing rice and vegetable. In Plateau State, we're doing potato and vegetable. In Borno, we're doing corn. And in different states, we're doing, Kebbi, we're doing rice also, and Sokoto. So different states, we're taking different steps based on the crops that are available to them. And we discovered that most were affected by this flooding, especially rural communities, our farmers. That's why we're taking agriculture as the mainstay of our intervention in most of the communities, so that we ensure that the people who are affected are taken care of. When this not just by word of mouth alone. I've been to Borno State to do that. I've surveyed Borno State. We've surveyed several states. My Minister of State was in Nasarawa State. He was also in Plateau State. I was in Benue State. So we're moving around the state to ensure that we do a thorough data analysis of what's happening there, and we've gathered enough information from what we've done. So we're intervening in the first quarter in those communities, especially to respond in dry season farming, so that we can meet their food needs. But one of the meeting their food needs also, we're also off taking what they'll produce. 30% will go to them as food component, 70% will buy it off and keep in strategic reserve and serve those communities.
My sincere apologies, Honorable Minister, for butting in, if you can hear me. The question that I'm asking is about that collaboration between your ministry and the Ministry of the Environment, which probably would have helped to stave off the impact of the flooding. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, the impact of any form of collaboration. At the point when you were, as soon as you were sworn in, you called for collaboration. You want to tell us how far that has been, with who and with who in particular? Because one would expect, for instance, that in the ministry, in these different state governments, where people's lives are directly affected by the things that will come to you, I'm just wondering how that collaboration has worked or is working, what the challenges are, in what areas can Nigerians also help to partner with you, so that at least we'll be proud, I mean, you will be proud that whatever it is that you're doing is hitting target.
Okay, the first step that we needed to take was to set up a humanitarian council where we can disseminate information that from the federal to state to local government, and have representation from the local government to state into the council, and the partnership that we're going to have with other ministries that are also involved in humanitarian activities, and international partners that are also involved in humanitarian activities. We feel that by getting a humanitarian council, it will help on decision making, in also intervening and quick response time that we're going to have in response to issues that have to do with the state, the local government, and also the national level. So that we intend to form in the first quarter of next year as our pivotal decision. But for now, we're working with the state governors, we're working with local governments, we're working also with our partners. Just like I told you, that in Bauchi, we're working with the state governor, we're working with ECOWAS, we're working with Red Cross to ensure we intervene in those places. In Borno State, we're working with the state governor. He has given us about 10,000 hectares of land in Borno State. Different governments have given us, collaboration to ensure that we provide those interventions. But most importantly, we agreed also that all the ministries that need to give us information, especially the data that has to do with rainfall, that has to do with weather, condition of the communities. So an early warning system also will help us. So the NEMA with our ministry are designing an early warning system that can also midwife between us, the state, and and the state government, to ensure that we have early response and also early intervention in most times. And also the early warning can also help us to move people out. I was giving an example with one of the communities that we met. And they told us that, when they discovered there was flooding every year, an NGO came into that community and provided an early warning system for them. They just built a gauge. And they asked somebody to be at the gate and provide early warning. And from that time, over 10 years now, that community has never been affected by any flooding. And before any flood comes, people will actually be rescued and they will escape. So they've lost no life, they've lost no property for over 10 years after that early warning system was given to the community. And these are things that we must do, not just in a community alone, but across the country, making sure that early warning systems are effective from the state governments, the local government, and all of us who are involved in humanitarian activities.
All right, Honorable Minister, I must say that you do have a whole lot of work to do. I guess that position has always been a sensitive one. So you're talking about your collaboration with state governments and all of that. But let's just look at some data at the issue of poverty, especially the multidimensional poverty index. So we see that when you look at from the World Bank to all others, the World Bank is saying that the level of poverty for this year increased to 38.8% in this year. And then there's the issue of low unemployment rate in the country, which is also feeding into that. Low consumer spending, purchasing power, minimum wage, all of this, of course, connects to the level of poverty in the state. And when you look at indicators, you have education, living standards, infrastructure, and all that. So when we talk about collaboration and the issue of humanitarian affairs, Honorable Minister, it does seem that you have a whole lot of... Look at the numbers right there, poverty data for 2024, about 43% of Nigerians. I mean, millions of Nigerians alone this year. So while we look at the policies from the government, it is now your responsibility to handle the consequences of it. So how do you now merge issues of infrastructure, education, not just with the state, with the different ministries, to ensure that it really gets down? And as some people are saying, it's even more an issue of perception, you know, for you to be able to handle this. So it's not just talking to the state governors and all of that. It's also dealing with the perception of the people, the infrastructure that they have to handle, their education, primary health care, and all of that.
Now, this where the discussion about the multidimensional poverty comes in. If you recall what we have as social register, the social register, normally you go to communities, you capture people, you meet the community, you divide the community into the women, the youths, and the elders. And they all now would define what poverty is, and they would discuss and agree on people who are poor in the community. They will arrange the people who are poor from the poorest to the least poorest. Then you now use that to now gather and aggregate what you call the social register. But most importantly, you now go for revalidation of those data. In the revalidation, that's when you will now assess the multidimensional poverty of the individuals that have been captured. Now, that data is the most important data as far as we are concerned in the ministry, because it assesses the level of education in the community, it assesses water and sanitation, it assesses general infrastructure, it assesses health, it assesses several data. And now it is this data that you normally use also to provide to other ministries that will help them even for their budgeting and planning. But most importantly, that's why I'm talking about the state governments and local government, because they should be the biggest beneficiary of this register. And that's why we're talking about working on the council, so that we can give this data to the state governments and the state government and local government also, so that it can help in planning primary health care. Because federal government doesn't work on primary health care, it is the state government and local government that work on primary health care. Federal government doesn't work on primary education and secondary education. It is the state government and primary that work on these issues. So a lot of these issues that has to do with multidimensional poverty, they have to do with state governments. And we must provide this data to the state government so the state government can work on this to improve on this multidimensional poverty. So when you discuss multidimensional poverty, most of the factors from water and sanitation to education to primary health, to most of these issues that we're discussing, they're actually the state and local government issues. And
so
that's
Honorable
why we provide
Minister,
this data to the...
Honorable Minister,
yes.
So that's why I was talking of perception. All of this should be based on data, which you say you gather and share, with the relevant levels of government. Now, there's the perception that those who make it to the register are the politically correct or connected individuals, and not those who need it. So how do we now get the right data that would guide us on taking the right decision and making impact?
Now, I think maybe that's a perception that you are feeling. Because
I don't think it's just me, Minister.
Not just by the minister alone. Now, yes, because let me just put it to your record also. because this data was actually made by the World Bank and under international partners that work with us and CSOs who were involved in it. So it wasn't a ministry that even developed the register, but it was, you know, a congregation of CSO, NGOs, the World Bank, and the ministry leading the pattern to ensure that this is done. So it was a register not developed by a political party or a government or a state government or federal government. And in all these things, there was a collaboration between the state government, the local government, and the federal government in this activity, apart from the international community who were involved. So this was validated by international communities, not just by individuals alone. But you know, sorry to say it, the people who are involved in this poverty, who are at this lower end, they are not on social media. They are not on the internet. They are not on TV. They are not even, they're even unbanked. So these people don't have a voice. Assuming they have a voice now, I'm sure they would have been talking on our behalf. Unfortunately, they don't have a voice. So that's the reason why most people who have the voice, who are not actually most people who have phones, who are on social media, who are on the TV and radio, unfortunately, they are not part of the social register because for now, we are dealing with the poorest of the poor in society, who are unbanked, who are on social media, who don't have access to internet. And that's the reason why most people have this perception that because their neighbor, who may have the wherewithal, is not on the social register, then they conclude that the social register is meant for the richest, so it's meant for the rich.
All right, sir. Honorable Minister, so we believe you. It's because those who are on the social media are not on any of this platform. That's why they are not talking. But, I mean, we've seen the stampedes. We're getting into the new year in a couple of hours. We know that poverty cannot automatically be erased. What's the plan from the ministry? People have good hearts. They want to give out to some communities and all of that. What should be a system to avoid this kind of stampede we've seen this year? Should they contact the police? Should they reach out to the ministry? Should they go to the local government to make it more organized? Because at the end of the day, I did see some lawyers asking the federal government to compensate families that recorded losses. Can we have a coordinated system to avoid stampede in the future?
We in the ministry, we have a protocol for distributing relief materials in any community. And that's the reason why we distribute relief materials more than any other individual in this country. And we've never witnessed a stampede. We also intervene even among the most critical people, the displaced people, the people who are at the ITP camps, who have the least, they are even under more pressure because they don't have access to accommodation, they have no shelter, they have no food, and yet we distribute food within those communities, and we've never had any stampede. And that tells you that actually organization is the major problem we have when it comes to distribution of relief materials for the people. Let me put it this way. You know, stampede has taken place in more developed countries than Nigeria. You know, if you recall the Hurricane Katrina in US, when they had food distribution because of poor organization, they had stampede. They also the school food distribution and street food distribution in US, in Texas, the same thing happened. So it has happened in several other countries also, more developed than Nigeria, where you have poor organization, and then people have ended up being stampede in those programs. So my advice to anybody who is organizing an intervention, if you know you don't have the wherewithal, the manpower to do it, you can either seek the ministry's help, and we can also help you. And most important, even we as a ministry, because we don't have enough manpower, sometimes we even seek the help of other agencies. For example, we're working with Red Cross in Bauchi because we discovered we don't have enough manpower to run that distribution in Bauchi State. So we opted to use Red Cross to do the procurement and do distribution on our behalf. We also go there to just help give them support. But we provide the data to them, but they do the distribution. And that's what you should do. And then secondly, and most importantly, in most areas that we have intervention, you have stampede, most times there's no beneficiary list. You can't just go out on the street and call, you say that call for food is ready for everybody. Of course, you expect a stampede. In Abuja, you have like over 2 million people in Abuja. and then you go out and say that people should come, there's rice in a building, and you expect maybe nothing less than about 3 to 4 or 5,000 people will come and gather in that place. Not even more than 10,000 people will gather in that, in that place. You can't manage the crowd. You may not have the security, you may not have the manpower, you may not have the strategy. Even the vulnerability test of the venue has been done. So these are some of the risk factors that we don't actually assess before we undertake most of these intervention by groups or individuals.
Prof, the issues we are talking about now are the more recent ones, and it's because of things that we're seeing now, and of course people just want to intervene. But then there is, in terms of the ministry, administering the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, you would agree that there has been issues over the past few months, about a year ago now. I think it was the EFCC that was talking about some 3 billion naira or so that was missing in the ministry. And then next thing we heard, in January, that the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs was suspended by the president. Next thing we were hearing figures of 585 million naira, and then some other figure, 37 billion naira, uncovered by the EFCC and all those things. Since your advent, I don't know if you've been able to do anything about it, are there gaps that you have noticed? Because there are some in the public who believe that the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction was created as opportunity for some people to steal money. We are not seeing any minister going around dishing money to people the way it was being done in recent history. So are there, gaps that you have seen? In what are those issues done and over with? Should we just forget that those things didn't happen? The EFCC didn't uncover any money? What exactly has happened? Because those monies were supposed to be about the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, aren't they?
For the investigation, it's not under my purview to discuss investigation by the security agencies or the anti-graft agencies. I think that was that was directed by Mr. President, and the investigation is still ongoing. But let me just come back to my ministry, what we're working on. When we came in, Mr. President gave a specific directive. One, ensure transparency in distribution of intervention, especially the conditional cash transfer to the people. And that's where the issue of social register came in. Number two, we should make sure that anybody we're giving money to, it must have digital identity, and it must be by bank transfer, no fiscal cash distribution to people, which will abided by all this. Now, that's where we are working on now. First, we have about 90 million households that are registered on our register. One household, we assume, has an average of about 5 people per household. So having 90 million people on the social register simply means that we have over 90 million people that are on our social register. But these 90 million household leaders are not all of them are captured. Only about 2.4 million of these 90 million people are captured. So we need to work. To ensure that we bring the remaining 70 million into the social register, and that's what we're working on now, to ensure that we capture all of them. And we're working with NIMC because it's easier for us to use, to provide NIN than to provide BVN from the bank accounts. So it's easier for us to use NIMC. You go to the rural community, we can capture the NIN of the unbanked people and then bring it to the banking sector by either harvesting their bank accounts if they have it, or creating an e-wallet for them if they don't have a bank account. And the president has given a directive that we should capture 15 million people in the next 6 months. And that's the target we're working on now to ensure that we get that done. And and that we're doing across all the states and want to ensure that we capture people who are already there before on the social register, and then expand as much as possible after we provided those 15 million people. And those people also, we should provide that intervention of 75,000 naira per annum to them, 25,000 in 3 tranches to these 50 million people that we are all capturing as the first stopgap for them while we work on durable solution for them in the future.
We'll come back to the poverty reduction strategies that you're talking about, but just a quick one on the previous issue. When will Nigerians hear about the conclusion of these investigations? Because I'm pretty sure you know that it's only a matter of time. The issues are going to arise again, and then the Humanitarian Affairs Ministry will come under fire again. So how soon should Nigerians look out for some kind of conclusion to that investigation that you talked about?
I may not be the person to draw a conclusion because I'm not heading the anti-graft agencies.
Yes. The is inadequate to fill in the gap. So if you don't have information for people about something that concerns your ministry, it's always assets and liabilities for anyone who takes office. So that's the reason I'm asking the question. So in order to instill trust, that's the question.
Let's be frank with ourselves. Yes, let's be frank with ourselves. Just like a case in court, I cannot go and determine the case that outside my purview. I'm not the person investigating. I can't investigate my ministry. I can't be the person just investigating my ministry. I can't make pronouncement on the issues of that are under investigation, and it's not my ministry. It's not my agency that's investigating my ministry. So I think it is the agency investigating that will make a statement on what they're investigating.
Okay.
But most important, like I said, every issue that was raised, if you recall, Mr. President set up a committee to oversee and also make recommendation before I came in. And all the recommendations were made, were all taken, I taking care of all of them. Like I said, no fiscal cash distribution. From that time till date, I'm sure you've not seen anybody distributing cash anywhere by our ministry. 2, no transfer without bank accounts or digital identity. And from that time till date, and that's the reason why we couldn't transfer much. Only 1.4 million that had digital identity that we could transfer to them. And the reason is because we don't have people that have digital identity among the social register. Most of them don't have it. And that's what we're doing right now with NIMSI. So every step and every recommendation they make to us, we're doing it. And then the third one is that work on durable solution. Don't go with only these stopgap solutions. And we're working on that also. By this January, the first quarter of next year, we're training people across the country in automobile, renewable energy, in agriculture. We're camping them for 1 year. We're giving them starter pack. We're monitoring them. We're linking all of them to the market space and to the private sector to ensure that they become productive. And that's one step we're taking for the youths. We're also working with the IDPs to ensure that we have durable solutions to them. We're farming for them using NALDA to ensure that they have farms and also they have crops, and we provide all the inputs for them. They provide the labor. We offtake from them 70%, the whole 30% are food component, and they have both cash and food for their sustainability. While they interact with the community and they socialize the community, we also support the community in different forms. So all these are part of our durable solution. Then the president also gave us an opportunity to also provide soft loan, the money market, the trader market, and also the farmer market, farmer money. These are also loan schemes, not free money. Loan scheme that will be given to traders, will be given to market women and petty traders, artisans, and also the farmer money to give to low-end farmers through cooperative and market associations so that they can also build the lower ebb of the economy also, and can create more jobs at that lower level. So these are things that we're taking next year, and we're taking them very seriously. We've worked on them, and we're working with not just by us alone, we're working with international partners. We're doing also validation meeting with all the international partners to ensure that we have a robust discussion on it and have a robust solution also going forward on that.
All right, Honorable Minister, so as we wind down now, I mean, you have so many programs you have mentioned that's being worked on, but we'd like to know your projection. We're getting into 2025. You have all of these programs. We've seen the numbers from the World Bank and other international bodies whom you say you work with. What is the projection, say by this time next year? Would we have reduced poverty, the people in the poverty level, to a certain level? What's the projection? What's the plan? Because I guess this is going to guide, your moves and your programs.
For my ministry, the president directed me to create 2 million jobs. So I'm working on ensuring that we have 2 million jobs at the end of December. We've created 2 million jobs. My ministry also, to ensure that we settled the IDPs. Most of the IDPs moved from the camps to their homes or settle within the communities, and also give them durable solution, that permanent solution to their lifestyle. If they're into farming, take them back to their farms. If they're into trading, take them back to trading. If they're into fishing, take them into fishing. So part of my job to ensure that that is done also. Then thirdly, part of my intervention also, part of my work plan also is that those people who are being given those stipends of 75,000 naira per annum, that we should find a way of migrating them into more sustainable lifestyle and also the economic empowerment of these people. And that's why we have this market money, federal money.
Honorable Minister, just one second. The question, if you can hear me, sir, the question she asked is, what's the percentage that you are looking to do? She started by giving us percentages of the poverty figures that we have now based on NBS figures and from the MPI and other data like that. What percentage are you looking at cutting down in the year ahead?
The figures cannot just be generated by me alone. Reason because
there is no specific projection, no specific data projection that we want to do say 5% or 10% reduction by next year. That's the question.
No, each ministry has their own targets. Like my target is to create 2 million jobs. We have NDA creating jobs also. We have different sectors creating jobs. It's when you aggregate all these factors that you now take the overall percentage of a country. You don't use my ministry alone to make a projection of the poverty reduction in the country.
All right.
The poverty reduction goes beyond just my ministry alone.
All right, obviously, Honorable Minister, you need to collaborate with health, education, infrastructure, and even agriculture. Thank you so much for your time with us.
Thank you so much.
Spending this time with us. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Professor Nantawe Yilwatda. And we wish you a Happy New Year. Let's be the first to wish you a Happy New Year. It's a couple of hours away.
Also, I wish you Happy New Year. All Nigerians, I wish you Happy New Year.
All right, thank you so much.
More prosperity,
Well, I like that prosperity part.
Yes, it conquers the poverty,
yes. I mean, because there's a difference between poverty and prosperity. And, so I like that part. So.
All right, let's take a break. We have more interesting conversation waiting for you. It's a couple of hours before 2025. The best thing is to learn from the mistakes of 2024 and make 2025 better. That's why we're here. See you in a bit.
For here, we wait for manager make us pay us our money. No. Manager, what's happening here? Manager, why you dey hide? They no allow me go back. They say I go run. Manager, why you no use first money wallet bulk payment? Pay them now. Not true. Yes.
Amuna, calm down. Oya, make una bring out una phone. Dial *894*1# to open your first money wallet. This money, it be like rock cash, you fit withdraw them, pay bills, or even transfer themselves. I don't pay all of them now. I beg you 5 boza for first money wallet.
Enjoy the unlimited life with First Money Wallet. Dial *894*1# on any mobile phone to activate now. You first. First Bank.
Find amazing treats for everyone this holiday with Showmax. Celebrate like a champion with soccer.
Very well taken.
Find your festive inspo with our masters of style.
That's what I'm here for.
Embark on a fun-filled global adventure.
Here we go.
Share your love moments with family and friends.
My son, the most handsome.
And enjoy some truly royal spoils.
I want the power to control what happens in my life.
Only on Showmax, because everyone deserves a holiday treat.
It's saddening to me that our wildlife and forests are disappearing, and that Nigeria has become a hub for wildlife trafficking. But together, we can change this story. We can lead our region with stronger laws that prosecute more offenders. Let's create a future where people and wildlife can thrive together. Please report wildlife crime and help make Nigeria a haven for wildlife. Because protecting nature protects us all.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us. 2024 in review, and of course, we're projecting, looking forward to the year ahead. The Honorable Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare joins us next for conversations around, of course, health and our social welfare. Because, hey, what are we going to do without health when we have all the wealth? Let's have conversations with him this one, and quite a number of things to discuss. The universal health coverage, more people spend, a lot more people spend money out of pocket as opposed to, engage in the health insurance. This whole conversation around basic health care, primary health care that we've been hearing about for a while, mental health awareness policy. You hear a lot of people talking about their mental health now, as opposed to when so many people were growing up. Social intervention programs, social investment, all of that are packed in this conversation with the Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Isiaq Adekunle Salako. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Beg your pardon, this evening.
Thank you very much, Ayo.
Yeah, and compliments of the season to you. Well, I mean, none of these issues are new to you. So many issues to look at. For you, as Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, of all the issues that you have to contend with, which one stands out the most for you?
Thank you once again, and let me use this opportunity to wish all Nigerians a Happy New Year. Well, I think that generally the issues of health are complementary to each other. And most of the time, it is difficult to pick out one issue and concentrate on just that one issue. Because, for example, if you focus on primary health care, it is important. But you cannot do that without ensuring that the referral system to the secondary level and to the tertiary level is also strengthened and made seamless. So we have a situation where we must ensure that we manage the overall health system in the country rather than concentrating on one particular issue. But I can tell you that the bedrock of our health system is the primary health care. And that is receiving a lot of attention. But like I said, without the secondary healthcare level, without the tertiary healthcare level, we cannot have a robust healthcare system in the country. In fact, without the private sector, without the traditional practitioners, all of these are important to put in the basket of our health sector in the country.
Instructive that you mentioned the fact that primary healthcare is the bedrock. Very, very instructive indeed. But then there have been questions about how come it's the federal government that has to deal with primary healthcare issues when there are those who believe that that is supposed to be the purview of local government administrations?
Well, what the federal government does basically is facilitation. You know that there is the National Health Act, which creates a health system for Nigeria, and that health system coming from the primary level, the secondary level, the tertiary level, the primary care level, the private care level, the federal government as an institution is a coordinator of all of this. And at a lot of times, we also have to facilitate a lot of inputs at the primary care level. For example, when we are talking about the issue of universal health coverage, which you alluded to during the previous interview, you will see that without the federal government playing a very central role in coordination, in ensuring that resources are mobilized, the level of universal health coverage will continue to be lower than expected. So, whereas primarily the responsibility of primary health care falls within the ambit of the local government squarely, but at the federal level, we must coordinate, we must facilitate, we must ensure that we have a level of interoperation so that data that is generated at the local level are also aggregated at the national level to give a global picture of what is happening in the country.
So, Honorable Minister, recently we did hear about the multi-billion-dollar manufacturing facilities. I think 22 new healthcare manufacturing facilities. I would like for you to tell us about that and how that can help. I mean, I get excited when I hear about manufacturing because when you talk to those, and I'm sure you've heard this even more than me, every single raw material they need to use for simple drugs have to be imported into the country. And that has fed into our medical inflation, especially with those multinationals that have left the country. So help us to understand how this is going to kind of calm the nerve or calm the expenses that individuals have to pay on some of those drugs that they have to take daily.
Well, that is a very important program of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You know that sometimes last year, the president brought on board the unlocking the value chain. And this was backed by an executive order to ensure that tariffs for some of the imports in the medical sector is eliminated or reduced. And because of that, and because of the focused attention of Mr. President to ensure that the healthcare system becomes a contributor to promotion of economic activities, direct economic activities, to a contributor to generation of employment, there's a deliberate approach by the federal government to ensure that we are able to help manufacturing industries that are coming in by creating a more enabling environment. And already that concentration, that emphasis, that deliberate policy is what is driving some of those manufacturing companies that you mentioned. And already we have signed MOU with quite a number of companies, including companies that are coming in to manufacture RGTs, rapid diagnostic tests, manufacture sonological equipment, manufacturing even drugs, and also raising input into the manufacturing sector. You also see that that deliberate policy is also targeted at promoting, because we procure a lot of pharmaceuticals, inputs, devices, consumables. So there's a deliberate policy to also support local manufacturers so that whenever we're going to procure some of these devices, inputs into the medical sector, we deliberately target procurement from the local manufacturers. As an example, we have a local pharmaceutical company that used to manufacture antiretroviral drugs, but because the government was not patronizing this company, they had to close the plant, the line for that manufacturing. But now that we are deliberately targeting local procurement, that company is now resuscitating that manufacturing line, and with the way things are going and the level of engagement that we have with that company, you will see us now procuring a lot of ARTs from our local manufacturers. Again, we talk about diagnostic equipment. We talked about long-lasting insecticidal nets. Some of these things are things we normally procure in large quantities, sometimes with support from our development partners. But because of deliberate policy of this government, to ensure that we have what we call a sector-wide approach to implementing our healthcare initiatives, our health sector initiative, Now, the developmental partners are in the same basket with us. We are all talking together. We have the same vision, the same direction, and we're ensuring that anything that we have the ability to do locally, they must patronize those local manufacturers. And that is generating a lot of interest among manufacturers. Even manufacturers that are not based in Nigeria are also taking a lot of interest in that. And that is what is resulting in those companies that we are hearing are moving into Nigeria to do manufacturing, to do assembly of their products, and to generally expand the quota of Nigeria generally in the health sector manufacturing.
Interesting, Honorable Minister, and I do like the fact that you have used the word deliberate like maybe 3 or 4 times, because, I mean, sometimes we just have policies and programs and all of that. So still following with that deliberate steps and intentionality that you say the government is now employing. What can we expect? I know you've mentioned the nets and all of that. Can we expect that perhaps we will have manufacturers who are, is it painkillers or some of those ingredients needed for painkillers? Can we have them maybe in the next 6 months? Or what really can we expect from these deliberate steps that the government is taking?
Well, first, I can assure you that the next set of antiretroviral drugs that Nigeria will be procuring, from the way we're moving, all things being equal, we will be procuring from a local manufacturer of ART. That discussion has gone very advanced, and I expect that all things being equal, we should be able to procure from a local manufacturer. Again, we are also looking at, within the next 1 or 2 years, we will start local manufacturing of malaria rapid diagnostic tests. The MOU has been signed. The discussion is robust, and we expect that in a very short, because some of these things are not very, very easy to totally predict, because they do not all 100% lie with government. For example, a manufacturer that is coming in, also we have to take into consideration some of the factors around that private player that may not be in total control of government. But our projection is that within the by 2027, our projection is that we should be able to expand largely the quota of Nigeria within the manufacturing sector in healthcare.
You know, Honorable Minister, this that you just mentioned now leads me to ask a question that we've asked quite a number of times, based on an issue that the Director General of NAFDAC had raised over time. And we've asked this question repeatedly and continually. So when we say that we're beginning to produce some of these things in country, it gladdens my heart. But there's something she's always talked about, and that's phytomedicine. That we have the potential to produce all of these things in Nigeria, in Africa, just the same way China has decided to focus on some of their own medical and health interventions, you know, in their own country. So, but the challenge that had been repeated over and over again by many people that we've spoken with in the health industry is the distance between the promises of phytomedicine and research-backed data to support the promises that it makes. What can you tell us about that? Is there any headway, any light at the end of any tunnel to activate our own phytomedicine, which a good number of people believe is a potential that we have in this part of the world?
Well, that is one area that I can tell you that even personally I am passionate about, because I strongly believe that we have our own resources within the phytomedicine enclave that can support the health agenda of Nigeria. And you see that within the unlocking value chain initiative that I spoke about earlier, phytomedicine promotion and development is occupying a very large part of it. And in this 2024, we have already developed a traditional medicine policy that we must be able to start the implementation in the new year. We have also compiled what we call the essential traditional medicinal formulary that's also captured at least a high proportion of the kind of phytomedicine resources that we have in Nigeria. Now, the gap, like you mentioned, has always been subjecting this phytomedicine to international acceptable standard of clinical trials that can create the confidence, that can make orthodox doctors prescribe those medicine, that can make us have confidence in the use of such medicine. We are therefore going to making a more robust plan with respect to conducting clinical trials. And one of the key areas that we're going to be doing in the new year is setting up a committee of, first let me also tell you that the alternative and complementary college that was created, I think about 20 years ago or more, which has not produced any graduate in the last 20 years, is going to be activated in 2025. Already we have appointed a sole administrator for that college, and we have secured a site for that college. We have already deploying staff for that college, so that we are not only talking about phytomedicine, we are standardizing it, and we are training practitioners who are able to also work within that confines and within that enclave to promote it. So I am saying that in the new year, you will see a lot of emphasis on how we can develop phytomedicine, subject them to internationally acceptable clinical trials that can enhance the confidence and put them on the shelf for use by our people.
So you said it's going to begin in the year 2025, and that's, it's gladdening to hear, but how far do you project that will be able to go in that regard? Because I'm sorry, a good number of people will say that when it comes to government, we hear of all these promises and we have a good start, but then after some time, it will seem like it just, tapers down. So what specifically should Nigerians look out for as the outcome of all of these wonderful initiatives you've mentioned in the year 2025?
Well, like I said, we already have a policy developed, and that policy is also we are going to now develop an implementation plan for that policy. And I expect that within the first or second quarter of 2025, we should be able to come out with that implementation plan that will set out clearly a robust pathway on achieving our agenda with respect to development of phytomedicine. But you know that this is a collaborative venture. We need to bring in the practitioners, the traditional practitioners, the alternative medicine practitioners. We need to bring in the researchers. We need to bring in even the pharmaceutical industry, so that we all sit down and agree. It is not something that the Ministry of Health as an entity can just sit down and set agenda alone. It has to be a collaborative agenda setting. But now that we have a policy, the policy is a very important document that can be used for an implementation plan. But what I can tell you is that this government is passionate about phytomedicine development. And from what we are seeing with the Unlocking the Value Chain initiative of this government, and the kind of response that we're gathering from the pharmaceutical industry, I believe that before the end of the tenure of this administration, we will see a leap forward with respect to development of phytomedicine in our country.
All right, so another issue, hot issue, well, not just in the health sector, but that affected the health sector, is the JAPA. I mean, the departure of skilled professionals. It's no longer news. I wonder if there is a strategy to groom the new ones, because I spoke to someone in the sector a couple of weeks ago, and he told me, asked the question of who is even training the upcoming doctors and professionals in the health sector. It seems the strong hands have left. So even if we were to put our hope in the upcoming generation, those in school, the teaching hospitals, who's training them and who's going to take care of our health while we wait for them to get out of school?
Thank you very much. For us, what we call the Jack syndrome, the migration of professionals, particularly in the health sector outside the country, we see the negative and the positives. It is not all negative, because when people leave the country, it gives them the opportunity to acquire new skills, to acquire new experiences, to have broader interaction with the international health community. And some of them are able to also contribute to the development of our healthcare system using technology. Today, with with telemedicine, a lot of things can get done even while you are not physically present. That is one positive aspect we believe, and as a result of that, we have organized the Nigeria Health Professionals in Diaspora, and we have a committee sitting on that, and we have a regular interface with our diaspora professionals so that they can also, through telemedicine, through health missions, come back and contribute to the health sector in Nigeria. But beyond that, what we have also done is to ensure that we devise a scheme to ensure that, first, we are able to train more health professionals. We have expanded the level of the capacity of the production of health professionals. We're opening new medical colleges. We're opening new nursing schools so that when we increase the turnout of our health professionals, we can retain some, and those who want to migrate can also migrate, and we can also give them that opportunity to be able to contribute even as they migrate away. But the ultimate endpoint that will make Nigerians stay is a gradual increase and a gradual improvement in our health system and our health infrastructure. So that, and that has started already, because when you look at the level of, for example, in 2024, the level of investment that has gone into the health sector, both from the budgetary aspect and also from grants, from development partners, you will see that, like the president said, the health sector in Nigeria is clearly in the front burner of the Nigerian government agenda. And as a result of that, we expect that gradually over time, we can reverse not only the direction of health tourism or even the direction of the migration of professionals. But of course, like I said, this will take a while. It's not something that's going to happen overnight.
But Minister, are you saying there's nothing? Are you saying there's nothing to worry about who's training the future health professionals? Because that's also another worry. You know, that's also going on.
I am not saying that. But what I can tell you is that we have adequate resources for training. You know that medical training, health professionals training generally have what we call the regulatory authorities. And the regulatory authorities normally determine the quota, the infrastructure in terms of human resources, in terms of physical infrastructure, and except those minimum requirements are met, there will not be accreditation for the training of such institutions. So I assure you that at the moment and going forward, we have quite a rich resource of people who are training our future health professionals. But again, I can also tell you that in this age of technology, in this age of digital technology, a lot of things is also getting done using technology. As an example, there's a platform now that has been created that we can use to even for continuous medical education for people who are already in service, and everybody can, 1 hour in a day, you can sit in your office, and everybody around the country can benefit from that without necessarily physically interfacing with the trainers.
All right.
So we're taking advantage of technology to ensure that not only are we training new healthcare professionals, we're also using technology to improve the skills, to improve the knowledge of even people who are already practicing.
But, let's talk about mental health awareness, Honorable Minister. The Mental Health Act is active, and a good number of people are wondering whether there is anything happening actually, because sometimes some will go to hospital and be wondering if the person attending to them is okay. So in terms of the mental health policy and services, what steps would you want Nigerians to know that have been taken to operationalize the law and maybe even integrate mental health services into our primary health care?
Thank you very much. The Mental Health Act, the implementation has started. Already at the federal level, there's already a division being created to focus on mental health. The ultimate direction is to also create a department. And once we're able to do that at the federal level, we can also gradually dovetail it into the subnational level. again, the mental health care system is also being integrated as an essential part of primary health care. And we're going to be training mental health technicians who can attend at that level to mental health issues. In the broader perspective of the non-communicable disease agenda of this administration, mental health is sitting very squarely within that, because we know that as we are battling with infectious diseases, we also must not leave out the non-communicable diseases like hypertension, like diabetes, like mental health issues that you have mentioned. So all these are being captured, and in the new year, we already instituted a program that's going to broadly also look at non-communicable diseases in a more elaborate manner, including mental health issues. So the implementation has started with a division at the federal ministry, and we're going to use that to dovetail to the subnational level, and also the integration of mental health care into primary health care services. That is the
policy level, Honorable Minister.
Mental health more robustly. But of course, I must also
just
say
a second,
that
Honorable Minister. Maybe that's at the policy level, but on the streets, the stigma is still there. And even though mental health advocacy is gaining momentum, stigma is still an issue. So is there a role for government in creating awareness, campaigns and partnerships so that we can cut down on stigma and people dealing with mental health issues can actually come out? The truth is, and I'm sure you know, those who have mental health issues sometimes don't even know that they have mental health. Acute anxiety, for instance, is a mental health issue. But many people don't even know it's like that. But the stigma, once you say you want to go see a mental health person, the stigma is there. You understand that. So is there a plan to deal with that decisively?
Well, you actually interrupted me. I was just going to go there, because one of the key agenda of this government is first to look at our psychiatric, what we used to know as our psychiatric hospitals. Because the moment you go, just like you said, the moment you say you are going to a psychiatric hospital, people believe that you have mental health issues. So we're refocusing the way the psychiatric hospitals are perceived. First by changing the names from psychiatric hospitals to specialist hospitals, so that one, you are not stigmatized, you are not labeled when you go to psychiatric hospitals. That is one policy level decision that is going to be taken in the new year, so that that stigma is addressed from that angle. But of course, like you have said, awareness is very, very important. But I know, you know that culturally, the way we look at mental ill people is like people who should not be tolerated within the society. And awareness creation, changing our perception, is something that's very important. That, of course, is a across society approach. As media, you have a responsibility. As Ministry of Health, we have a responsibility. As individuals, we are subnational government, we have a responsibility to create that awareness, to create that change, the paradigm shift, to be able to treat mental ill people with more level of accommodation, with more regard, with more level of consideration. You know, so that is an ongoing process. Of course, the federal government will play its role in terms of creating awareness, in terms of partnering with the media, in terms of partnering with NGOs. But clearly, at the policy level, such are some of those things that we are doing to ensure that we put a lot more emphasis and highlight the challenge around mental health in our country.
All right, Honorable Minister, one of the indices used to, differentiate a developing country from a developed one is, access to health care. And we know that out-of-pocket payment is a major one in Nigeria, and that has, reduced our status when it comes to that. We've heard of different types of insurance, health insurance programs. I know that here in Lagos State, there's the Ilera Eco, which obviously I think covers mostly the government workers. Is there a way to simplify this financially and otherwise for a lot of Nigerians not to have to do out-of-pocket payments for their health care? Because I mean, a lot of people are reluctant to go to the hospital when they know they don't have the cash.
Well, if you look at the agenda of Mr. President that he used to campaign, the Renew Hope agenda, one of the key elements of healthcare sector mentioned in that document is that health is treated as a human right and a matter of urgency. And if you also look at the presidential priorities of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you will see health as being taken as a promoter of productivity, a promoter of economic activities, a driver, an enabler of even economic development and poverty eradication. And against that background, you will see that the universal health coverage agenda of Nigeria is sitting very, very prominently within the pillars of the Renew Health Sector Investment Initiative. You see that when we talk about efficient, equitable, accessible, and qualitative healthcare, which is the second pillar of our initiative to drive the health agenda of Mr. President. So within that ambit, universal health coverage is a major and important element. And in the last 1 year, for example, I can tell you that through the program that we have initiated using the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund, additional about 2.5 million Nigerians have been added to insurance coverage. That may look small to you, but if you consider that in about 24 years since the establishment of the National Health Insurance Scheme in 1999, we were only able to cover about 16 million people. And in 1 year, we have added additional 2.5 million or thereabout to it. And that is focusing essentially on the less privileged, the vulnerable people, using the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund, which provides some sort of financing to identify primary health care, about 8,000 of them across the country, to be able to procure drugs, provide inputs into healthcare services, logistics, and so on and so forth.
All right.
So gradually, we're seeing a situation where, over time, we can gradually increase the level of coverage of the insurance scheme, the social insurance scheme especially.
All right.
Like, again, this is not going to happen overnight. Because
all right, Honorable Minister, we're really out of time. Thank you so much. And I mean, as you would expect, we do hope to see, maybe faster coverage. Then we would feel it more. But thank you so much for your work and for sharing this time with us. Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Isiaq Salako. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, let's take a break. Now, when we come back, we'll have as our guest the governor, the Honorable Governor of Bauchi State. He's been in the news recently. He's going to clarify something. And also, the state of Bauchi State will be in our next conversation. Stay with us.
Stay connected to the world with Channels TV Podcast and get all the trending stories. Simply log on to channelstv.com, click on podcast, select the program of your choice, and listen. Our podcast is available on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Tap the expertise you trust. Touch the stories that touch you. Anytime, anywhere.
If there is anything we've been talking about over and over again, is how was 2024 for you? And that's the first question that I'm going to pose to His Excellency, the Governor of Bauchi State, Mohammed Bala. He joins us on this program to review 2024. Good evening, Your Excellency, and thanks for joining us this evening.
Good evening, Ayo. It's a pleasure to see you and good Nigerians.
Yeah. So I'll ask you, how was 2024 for you, both personally and officially?
Well, 2024 has been very rewarding to me as a person, and very challenging to the states and the subnational and to some of us that are trying to strive to bequeath maximum efficiency and productivity in the system. But certainly it has not been easy, but we appreciate whatever comes because we believe that everything comes from God.
You know, every year gives us an opportunity to reflect and then refire. And you just talked about the fact that it has not been easy. Oh, most certainly. There's hardly any Nigerian who would not say exactly the same thing. So for you, as a governor and as a member of the National Economic Council, who has to deal with the activities of a whole state, one of 36 in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, what are those not been easy moments for you? What are the challenges that you think we had that really tested and tried your leadership as a governor and as a member of the National Economic Council?
Well, as a member of the Nigerian Governors Forum and member of NEC, I think there are so many reform initiatives of the federal government that were new, very revolutionary, and which we supported wholeheartedly as members of NEC, and where implementation became haywire, and then it was bequeathing a lot of hardship that has really presented us with a lot of problems because, yes, because of the commonality of the need to provide governance at all levels of government, we supported the harmonization of the equalization of foreign exchange and then removal of subsidy. And of course, that comes with a lot of things. And of course, the increase in the minimum wage vis-a-vis the lean revenue streams and what will come out of it to our treasury and so on and so forth. That are some of the issues that have really brought a lot of agitations, fears, and apprehensions to me as a person and to some of us as my colleagues when we are doing some peer review mechanism.
His Excellency, I know that perhaps this period is also one of those times not very comfortable for you because of your comments on the tax reform and, you know, a lot of reactions.
Which of the...
On the tax reform. Yes, and you've been getting some, you know, hits from the presidency, you know, that you need to clarify, you know, what you meant. Were you threatening the president and things like that? I think that also puts you in a not so comfortable position as we enter 2024.
I am very, very comfortable. I cannot be threatened as a governor. I owe and I stand by my comments, and it is meant in good faith. And it is not meant to malign, to insult, or to do anything to the contrary other than meaning goodwill and good faith. Because I believe as a leader of a subnational, I should tell the presidency what we feel about their reforms, about their initiative would have concomitant effect on us. And of course, when I said that the reform has some good aspects, but certainly at the end of the day, it is going to impoverish or put us in a very deep comparative disadvantage to be able to live up to our obligations of paying salaries, doing infrastructure, and so on and so forth, because all states are not the same. And I will believe as a leader of the federation, and all of us are federating entities, they should listen to us, not to be arrogant and showing some elements of impunity that whatever happens, they will go ahead. And I think we must have the courage to humbly, with all humility and sincerity, say, please listen to Nigerians, listen to us, especially some of us that have apprehensions. And we have supported you from the beginning to come up with policies and programs that we believe are germane in changing the trajectory of leadership in Nigeria. But where we have fear, you should also give us a listening ear in terms of stakeholding and collaboration that is needed in the federation entities or Federation of Nigeria.
Well, so what would you like to see, sorry Ayo, what would you like to see made different in the reform to make it acceptable to you?
First of all, the first reform about the removal of subsidy and of course the equalization of foreign exchange and the revenues that are coming on stream, there must be transparency in the sharing. A lot of monies were made, but we were made as subnational to be getting a paltry sum. The rest are being kept without telling us where they are kept, in the pretext that if we are given all the money, it will cause inflation. That is very unfair, because the value of the naira has reduced. Yes, we are getting more, but what we were getting before was better in terms of value, purchasing power, payment to contractors, and even to our people that were paying, even to the wages. So we needed to really have more transparency, more collaboration, not to hold on to what is belonging to the subnational, and at the end of the day come up with policy like the local government autonomy, which is just, I feel, is a form of blackmail, because you cannot deal with the local government without the state. It's a bit to jump over the state administration or the subnational to deal directly with the local government, which will cause chaos. So some of these things are issues that I feel. And secondly, the issue of the tax reform. Tax reform states, I hope you are hearing me.
Yes, we can hear you, on His Excellency.
The state, we have different peculiarity and configuration. Our microeconomic realities are different. Our orientation are different, even though we are all federating entities. So we should be listening when we said, if you bring a reform that will make me disadvantaged in terms of the takeaway to be able to pay salaries, most especially, it is not my fault when your ways and means in the previous administration has reduced what is coming in the revenue stream for us, for the state to benefit from NNPC. We are just completely dependent on tax and VAT. And if you make it disadvantaged, then how do I survive? How do I make it? Because I don't have any means. We are so dependent on the federation account. And if you are going to do something like a reform, which some aspects are good, and a good aspect is that it will reduce multiplicity of taxes, it will harmonize the tax administration, and also engender private sector development and raising the tax to GDP ratio. But certainly, there are so many areas that I will tell in the course of this conversation where we have apprehensions. We are not saying that you should throw it, but you said no. Even at the neck, we discussed and said, please, try and foster collaboration. You said no, it will still go on. Some of the issues that will baffle you, even NEC were not aware that these bills were going to the National Assembly. Even some of the ministers, I think we are not in a military regime. Even military regime accommodated some of them, or those that have military background, accommodated somebody like the president, who was a governor, and he was able to challenge rightly the federal government. And heaven didn't fall down. But some of us are giving advice in good faith because we know him. He's a Democrat. He has really spearheaded a lot of protests against the federal government rightly, especially during the Nadeko days. But we are disappointed that even genuine intervention are seen as an affront or an insult that will warrant the kind of enlist the kind of response that I got from presidency. That is very undemocratic, and that is very unlike Tinubu.
All right, but His Excellency, what would you say to those who say that perhaps this tax reform would make states sit up with their internally generated revenue, because it does seem like some states, or a lot of states in the country, are not effectively using the natural resources that they have.
Madam, before we sit up, do we die before we sit up? We need to discuss. Yes, it will help us sit up. Even during the Buhari regime, we were able to raise our IGR from paltry 300 million in Bauchi State to 3 billion. But it's not enough. So you don't implement them whole and stinker. You have to go by persuasion. You have to apply this thing gently. If I go into all the aspects of the tax regime, tax reform that is giving us hiccups, you will bear with me that we are not against the reform. We are not averse to reform, especially given my background as a public servant. Reform is the manifestation of the need to engender good governance. But it should not be implemented to the detriment of the majority of the federating states. That's what we are saying. We are not saying he should not take a bill, he should not, but please, let's take a time to discuss this, to agree, and then remove some of those areas that we feel are dangerous for the survival of the subnationals. That's all. You know, But it's not that we will deprive him of his rights as the president of Nigeria, as somebody who has done a lot of reform in Lagos, and we had high hopes on him, but rather midway we are disappointed that he is not even accommodative, he doesn't listen, and he believes that whatever he wants to do, he has the right to do it. He has not that right. He has to listen to Nigerians when they have apprehensions.
Interestingly, during the first presidential media chat, the question was put to the president along the line of the tax reforms. And he also mentioned the fact that, okay, maybe one or two conversations need to be had in order for, before that law, the tax reform bills anything, significant can come out of them. Now, that presidential media chat that the president had, what would you say is your own takeaway, particularly in terms of the interventions that the president is talking about in the area of the economy, in the area of course, the tax reforms and all? What stands out for you?
So many things stand out, and that's what informed my outburst during the Christmas. He has not shown remorse to the hardship we are going as people, as Nigerians, at the subnational level, and he is not ready to be flexible to accommodate our interests. That is what irked me. But certainly I have a lot of respect. I don't want to join issues with the president or the presidency, but I just want to be listened to be heard, that there are so many areas that I, even from the opposition, recognize the need for reform, as I said from the beginning. But certainly there are areas of suspicion and mistrust. And there's a section of the country, especially the northern part, feel that our own sensibilities, our own perception, our own survival is not taken care of. It's not as if the presidency doesn't care. But that is very unfair because he is the most respected nationalist. And even from his own disposition of mentorship and the rest over the years, we believe he is somebody who is a complete Nigerian, a nationalist, a patriot, and so he should listen to us. I, for a moment, went under as a former media man, as a governor, because I don't want to be criticizing just for criticizing sake. I only give constructive criticism. And sometimes I may be hot because it has to be, because the way it is going is as if he is talking, Mr. President and his advisors have forgotten the need for persuasion, inclusion, and then stakeholding.
Okay. Your Excellency, it's very interesting the way conversations around the tax reform bills has come up. Now, there are those who have pointed at the benefits squarely from a governance perspective. There are those who are also looking at it from a political perspective. For you, how much of these issues around tax reforms is political? How much of it is governance related? How much of it has to do with fiscal federalism?
Well, I am one of those that doesn't see this from the political perspective. I still give the president benefit of doubt. And of course, from the way it is, he has brought on some young people with a lot of ideas to do this. And of course, the major areas of contention to me is the issue of upward review of the derivation from 20 to 60% that would drive some other states in the country. But of course, the requirement of the companies to bring the issue of consumption in VAT is not practicable because, are you hearing me, please?
We can hear you.
It's not practicable because this country, the economy is an informal economy. We have not developed the data and the capacity to even determine consumption at the point of consumption. Everything will be localized to determining who gets what in VAT from the point of view of headquarters of where these items are manufactured. So being a consumer tax, I think so many states will be out of it. And of course, gradual increase in VAT from 7.5% to 15% on non-essential goods and the rest will negate the purpose of exemption in some aspect, especially in capital tax, and it will further aggravate poverty because whatever you have brought the exemption, the other side will factor it in the factors of production. And at the end of the day, you will not achieve anything. And of course, agriculture has been completely exempted from the VAT regime. And to me, most of us we are only in that field, we only contribute our own national quota in areas of food production. And if it is outside the VAT calculation, then of course we are not part of it. My advice is that we should retain the status quo of the formula on derivation, and of course bring more of automation so that we'll be able to look at the data in terms of using consumption as a basis on a long-term basis, but not immediately. Therefore, we should exhume that aspect of review of the derivation formula so that we will live and let live. We will not allow some states to die just because they don't have the headquarters of the companies in that place. And of course, the poverty, if you look at the birth rate now, the poverty decimal in this country. It's said that whatever you do, you have to manage inflation, manage production, and of course what comes to the states. If you give exemption in some places because you want to make sure you show some good face, a human face, to those that are not producing so much, they said between 20 to 30 million, they will be exempted, some workers at the lower level. At the end of the day, they will suffer because those companies who have not exempted will factor all this into whatever comes to them in terms of purchasing and what have you. And then, of course, the development levy. How Naseni, Nitida, and Chetfan will gradually die because I will say sunset provision, because they will start gradually, and by 2029, no provision will be made for them. It's unfair because some of the disadvantaged states, not only from the north, are benefiting from these agencies. And by the time you just brought them under, you just bring them under the normal budgetary allocation, which are paltry and they hardly come, and the implementation is just like a yo-yo, you will not be able to. They will not be able to provide the required services in terms of education, in terms of technology, innovation, and what have you. So I think we should just allow those agencies to be in perpetuity under the revenue compendium as per what we have gotten it from the national, the compendium of establishing the agencies under the national, under their bills. So, and then later on, of course, student loans, we can use budget to provide for student loan so that at least we will show you can even educate us at the state level, at the local level, to make sure we make a lot of budgetary provision for student loan. So many aspects of the bill that I find repugnant to us, you know. Yes, you can teach us as federal entity to engender efficiency in terms of tax administration, but certainly for you to bring this to me, will provide a lot of difficulties to the states that don't have the required revenue base, and of course, they don't have the productive capability to benefit from that, especially when you look at the issue of revenues coming from the oil sector that is hardly coming. They are using it to pay some loans that they have taken before. So the states that don't have should not be made to suffer.
All right, His Excellency.
But yet, he can put under tutelage.
His Excellency, it does seem like another area where the subnational is not in agreement with the national is the state police. That also came out during that media chat that the president had. What's your stance, and how would you think that will affect the issue of security? This year, we've had a new terrorist group come up. We've had quite a number of incidents also, mostly in the north, which obviously is a major concern for you. Do you think that state police would bring solution to this? And I mean, also coming in agreement with the president, who seems not to be, in agreement with the state police stance?
Well, when I presented this to our State Executive Council, everybody was in agreement that we should have state police. But like the president, I also have my suspicion, because the state police can be politicized. Because we have seen how SAEC has been politicized. We have seen how INEC has almost been owned 100% by the federal government. And the policing is an impartial phenomenon in governance. Nobody should own it. But certainly, because of the gap in terms of policing ratio between citizens and the police. We need to really encourage state police in the manner that the rule of engagement will be provided by the structured political architecture of the country, the police, the army, and the SSS, so that there won't be arbitrariness, there won't be subjectivity in the application. At the same time, we will give areas of intervention or areas of policing that will not engender our own democratic governance, democratic growth. This is my own take on the state police. It is desirable because if you look at the ratio, it is very appalling. We need to have complementation from the state governments if they can afford, because it is very expensive. But certainly, it's an area that is a double-edged sword that we have to look at it, maybe start it from a very modest beginning and see how far it has gone. It is being implemented in the United States, but we are not United States. We have to look at our peculiarity so that at the end of the day, here in Bauchi, we are implementing something like that, even though it is not structured or backed by any legislation. What we are doing is to make sure that there is stakeholding between the structured security agencies, our hunters, our traditional rulers, our religious leaders, in such a manner that there is feedback. Nobody comes from Zamfara or from Niger or anybody to anywhere to commit any crime without these people coming together. And the state government and the local government are funding them very well. That is why we are just like an enclosure that is very peaceful in amidst the surrounding that is having a lot of insecurity. We are doing it because of stakeholding. We are doing it because of feedback. We are doing it because of M&A. We make sure informers that are normally benefiting from this business are not allowed to participate. Mostly small chiefs. You have seen the analysis that billions of naira is being transferred for ransom. So it is a big industry. We have to muster the political will. And it is not only the state police that will do it. It has to have a political will at the level of the subnational and local governments, because it would appear that the thing is so mesmerized into the federal government that they will not be able to do it because of other contending needs on the treasury.
Your Excellency, still on this security thing, it's a little baffling when we hear some of your colleagues, some in previous administrations, say that they know the people who are fomenting trouble. They know the bandits. In fact, we've had interviews with people on television who would say, look, they are our neighbors. They are people that we know. There are those who also come on air and say, look, some of them are there for some political reason or the other. Now, would you agree with those who say that they know where the bandits are, yet the insecurity in those states, the banditry, the kidnapping, those things persist? How does it sound to you? How does it feel when you hear such things, yet people's lives are at stake?
Honestly, I have a lot of respect for my colleagues at the subnational level and even our seniors at the federal level. I believe we must muster the political capacity and the courage to be able to do this thing without sparing anybody. And of course, there shouldn't be any tingots in this aspect. And we must have the fidelity and sincerity to implement or to punish and reward. Even the security agencies, they know where these bandits live. And you see some key members of the security agencies participating in ransom collection. And to me, it is very appalling when you have an admittance of inefficiency or lack of capacity. And of course, as you said, some of the traditional rulers, in Bauchi, what we did was to make sure we waste any local chief that compromises. And that has stopped it. Even at the level of emir, we don't agree, because most of the misdemeanors are perpetuated at the local level. And some members of the local authorities, those in charge of forest, in charge of land, in terms of and then the small chiefs that have responsibility or jurisdiction. And of course, we too, as a government at the subnational level, we have not really paid adequate attention in terms of remuneration and reward to the local chiefs who are taking care of our commonwealths, our forests, our farmlands, and we are paying them pittance, 5,000, 10,000. We have raised their earnings here, and we are making them accountable. And we have to do that. And that's why sometimes the issue of local government autonomy is good. If the local governments will take the responsibility of local policing and local administration, all the sleeves of governors, that will be very fine. And it will be cascaded up to the federal government. But certainly I agree with you, it is baffling for states. Some people are just perpetuating crime and criminality, and they are not touched. They come and celebrate and carry on as if the impunity is too much. It is baffling me. In the neighborhood here in Niger, they don't allow any Boko Haram or bandits to participate or go with glee and glee. So why are our military people who had that capacity before? I remember the time Buhari invaded Chad from Jos as a GOC. And of course he was able to decimate even the gendarmes that are there. But today we are spending so much money. It would appear that this is becoming an industry. And I want to reserve some of my comments, but certainly I'm as disappointed as you are. I think some people are just left to go without punishment.
Well, one other area, one of the catalysts for fighting insecurity that a number of people have talked about is that of electricity, of power, of energy supply to the various communities. Thankfully, the Electricity Act of 2023 and the constitutional amendment of the same year now empower states to generate, transmit, and distribute electricity within their territories. Now, for you as a governor, first of all, how does that come across to you? What are the challenges that you know are going to come? What are the collaborations necessary? What will it take? Has Bauchi State, for instance, come up with an electricity regulatory commission of its own?
We have not come up with a regulatory framework yet, because at the level of the North-East governors, we are doing so much in terms of peer review mechanism. Fortunately, we have the North-East Development Commission, and we decided as 6 governors that we are going to do something uniformly. And so we have gotten the huge capital outlay required to provide power. It's not for states like us that don't have benefits of derivation or extra resources. We have to start somewhere. The insight of knowledge will give us the benefit of knowing where we are and where we want to go. Of course, we have comparative advantage in terms of green energy. That is the issue of sun, solar, and so forth. We have a lot of proposals on that, and we have accepted here, and we are proposing them. And in Bauchi, we have, and Gombe, we have the hydrocarbon present, oil and the gas present is so huge. And for my own state, we are working with the private sector who is going to establish a 1.5 billion naira cement factory to produce 10 metric tons of cement per annum. And there they have the coal, they have the gas, and they are going to produce so much power that will be sufficient for the North-East region. And what we are doing, we are signing an agreement with them because they will produce their independent power, and because the state is going to be part of the equity structure of the company, owning about 10%, we will allow them to produce power, and they have huge capacity. Already over 100 European foreigners are there trying to see how are we going to use coal, or are they going to work with NNPC to use the gas. So we do have problem with regard to the implementation of the deregulated electricity regime. Certainly, we are comfortable. But I must tell you, even at the moment, that is the challenges for the subnational. Some of us are not even able to pay our bills to the various discos because of what we inherited, and the tariff is so huge, billions of naira. Talk less of producing. In my village, when I became governor, you will laugh. Some NEPA or disco people went to collect power. They were chased out that why should you come to us when our son is the governor? We will not pay bill. So we need to have a lot of sensitization. People don't know that governance is a responsibility. And of course, in the villages, they don't have any industry, they don't have any factory. Even the sewing machine, they use hand. So they only have lighting points. And yet they are brought arbitrary bills. And so we have to look at all these things before the implementation. And that's why we have a very good consultant. And the North-East Development Commission is doing very well for us. And all of us, the governors of the Northeast, irrespective of party, we are together. We will implement this by the grace of God.
You know, Your Excellency, when you said that Bauchi State is not getting derivatives from oil, it just reminded me that, wait, how many years ago did we hear that there was oil discovered in Bauchi, between Bauchi and Gombe states? How is that going, by the way?
Well, I don't want you to accuse me of doing things against the federal government. After the expiration of the last regime, since then, we have not seen much activities. But recently, I have seen some bulldozers, some scratches being done, as if it's to deceive and delude us. But as far as we are concerned, we are leveraging on other resources. I told you we have coal, and the company is going to use it. There is no much activity to exploit the oil and gas potential of Alkaleri and Kolomani, Gombe-Bauchi axis. Because, I don't know, maybe the huge capital outlay, but I heard that recently I've spoke to some NNPC officials that they are coming back. But for a long time, they have disappeared, and it would appear they are not very serious about it. And in fact, I'm trying to get an appointment with the president to brief him and to crave his indulgence to please do that for us, because it will be an institute development of oil and gas potential. That means we are going to have power generation, we are going to have a refinery, we are going to have a petrochemical industry, we are going to have a fertilizer plant. We will have so many institute developments since we don't have any pipeline to take it out of Bauchi Gombe. We don't have any sea to transport it to Europe. It will be a double-edged advantage for us if we get developers with the capacity to develop it there, and it will serve the whole northern part of the country.
His Excellency, well, we do wish you the best as you try to get that appointment. But, you know, perhaps there's also another side to it. We see what is happening in the Niger Delta with all of the extraction of crude and processing that's going on there. The issue of vandalism making it even worse. Yesterday, we did have a conversation on this program on the issue of climate change, environmental damage, and how it's affecting food. And our panelists agreed, I mean, almost unanimously to say that it lies with the subnationals, the attitude of individuals that is affecting some of these consequences of climate change. So would you say that in Bauchi State, there's the consciousness of some activities that are bad for the climate, you know, dealing with flood, and all of that? Is there that consciousness?
Well, there is almost complete absence of consciousness or synergy with the need to reverse the negative impact of climate change, because people are driven by poverty and ignorance, and sometimes of lack of understanding that they need to know where they are even building houses. You go to a place, a flood drain area, and then you will see houses being built, and then they will be so inimical to advice. Again, you can see wood felling is almost everywhere. Charcoal making, all our forests have been depleted, and there is nothing we can do to make sure that we replace all these trees that are felled. And of course, even with the green wall that we are enlisted by the World Bank and the Federal Minister of Environment, we are doing a lot of sensitization. But because of what I have told you, the two factors, ignorance and then maybe lack of understanding and poverty, they will continue to do it because they must cook food and they will deplete the forest. And of course, you will see this charcoal business is a big monster. So, but here we have developed a capacity for enforcement, going after them. Sometimes we do confiscation, but at the same time we do persuasion, telling them. But let me tell you, this charcoal business and the rest, even some highly placed individuals are in it, because there is a lot of money in it. What we are doing now is to make sure that we liberate on AgriCell, a World Bank program that we are enlisted by the Federal Minister of Finance, the World Bank, and the federal government to ensure that we plant more, to create buffer zones, and to ensure that at least we don't deplete our ozone layer. But certainly, the communities are part and parcel of the aggravation of the negative impact of climate change, because you can see a lot of flooding where there is no flood, because houses have been built and a lot of activities that is creating this. So we are doing so much sensitization through the emirs, through the ulamas, through the clergy, and of course as a government too, making sure that we carry out the enforcement punishment, reward and punishment on the spot, confiscation and outright confiscation and so on and so forth.
Perhaps another thing would be to expose the people to alternatives. You know, how much do they know about alternative solar, for instance, which is a natural resources? How much do they know they can get electricity from there and, you know, do some other forms of energy from there?
Now, solar is another thing, but it all goes to the affordability. Can we afford it? I don't want to deceive myself. I don't have the resources to provide all the combustible, the firework that is required to heat all the energy requirement of the villages and towns of Bauchi. But certainly that's where to go. And we are trying to bring some companies from China. We have signed an agreement with a sister province called the Shandong province, and they are helping us so much because that multilateral agreement is helping us. They are going to establish a solar power plant here where they will do all the profiles, they will do all the other components of solar, and that will bring it cheaper. And in fact, even the Almajiri school that they use firewood in the night to teach their children, we are deploying a lot of solar through the World Bank project of BESDA. We have deployed over 10,000, and the state is also doing its own, and we are urging the local government to do, because that's one area where they use a lot of firewood, apart from the cooking fuel that is being used. But certainly, as you rightly said, solar is the ultimate thing that we will deploy. Even in irrigation, people can no longer farm. Dry season farming is here. I am now really pitched because we have to make sure we encourage our people who have been driven out of their farmland by flood as a result of depletion of siltation of our rivers and the rest. But they cannot afford the diesel. They cannot afford the fuel. So the ultimate thing they would require to fuel their own, to energize their own pumping machine to pump water is solar. And so we are working very hard to make sure we do that. But certainly, it's not something that we have made much progress, but it is on the offing in 2025 that will deploy a lot of resources to ensure that our farmers in the villages, irrespective of flooding, because sometimes flooding will leave a flood drain for people to plant a lot of resources that will even have more harvest than when they would have done it during the rainy season. And so we try to look at our disadvantages or our challenges to convert them into opportunities.
Your Excellency, we have about 30 seconds to go, but I need you to speak to this if you don't mind. There's been the challenge that a number of people have talked about in practically, well, almost every sector of our national life, and in the area of collaboration. You just said now that you are struggling to get an appointment with a federal agency just so as to do something that they need to do in the area of education, in the area of health, environment. That collaboration, the issue of collaboration has always been an issue of concern. Speak to us about how we must cross that hurdle in the year ahead.
Please, I'm craving the indulgence of Mr. President. He is the leader, he is the father of this country. Thank you for the opportunity, Ayo. He should open up for advice from the subnational. We are always together at the Governors Forum under the good leadership of the chairman of our council, the governor of Kwara, and of course the vice president at NEC. These are the only avenues that we can interact, apart from other councils that have been established. Please, he should listen to us, irrespective of our political background. We meet well. We are not there just to cause distraction. Because as he said from the beginning, it was time for governance. Okay. It's not time for politics. When the time for politics comes, we'll come back. But it is the leadership at the apex that will engender that collaboration, that interaction, that stakeholding, so that at the end of the day, we will have it tick. As for me, as a person, as a federalist and a federal civil servant, I don't have any problem accessing a lot of either human capital, other resources, extra resources from the federal government, irrespective of my opposition posture, because I worked there for 25 years and I was a senator there. So I have sympathy from my colleagues, but others cannot even have the courage to go and get it. So there must be collaboration, and he should open up where we criticize him. We are doing it in good faith. It's not because everybody, whoever you are as a politician, you aspire to be a president, maybe. But there is no, there is no need for insult or taking us outside the line.
Your Excellency, my apologies. I think the point has been made, and I want to believe that even the president and the people around him are talking to him about those things. And well, thank you so much for your time, Your Excellency, Mohammed Bala, Governor of Bauchi State. Yeah, thank you so much, and have a happy New Year ahead.
Thank you. Same to you. And same to
okay, so up next, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's an issue that concerns boys and girls as well, ladies and gentlemen, and that is the issue of education. And guess what?
And there's 3.5 billion trillion to be spent.
What do you have to go? That's what to do with money. The guests, the person who will be speaking to us about that is already here with us in the studio, and that, of course, is the Minister of Education, Dr. Olatunji Alausa. We'll be right back.
We came here on behalf of the communities to thank them for such gesture, and we continue to reassure them that we will do our best in making sure that the oil pipelines have been highly protected to the best of our ability.
But we want it tasty and easy too. Knorr Cubes. That's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic. And enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
Everyone dreams of a better tomorrow. A tomorrow filled by hope for the future. ARM has everything you need to go from where you are to where you need to be. Join us. Let's face tomorrow together. ARM. Invested in your tomorrow.
As the Christmas air fills our homes with joy and our hearts glow with gratitude, we at GRB Solar Investment Limited want to take a moment to celebrate with you the heartbeat of our success. From the serene streets of Abuja to every corner of Nigeria, your trust has helped us light up cities, brighten communities, and power dreams. It's because of you that our mission of illuminating Nigeria continues to shine brighter as you gather with loved ones under the warmth of Christmas lights. May the joy of the season fill your homes, and may your dreams for the new year sparkle with hope.
My name is Dr. Jimoh Baramusi, the Managing Director of GRB Solar Investment Limited. I wish all Nigerians Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. God bless you all.
From our family at JRB Solar Investment Limited to yours, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and a radiant New Year. JRB Solar, the sun is going to shine on everything you do.
So in 2022, they gave us the mandate to go around to the host communities and speak to some of the majesties and paramount rulers to hear what they would want for their communities. We went around the 4 states, Abia, Bayelsa, Imo, and Rivers, meeting different traditional rulers, getting their opinions on it. And they came up with a list of things. From PINL to the communities here, they would like to say a big thank you for your support so far, for the opportunity to work together to ensure that the pipelines are protected.
I want to thank the PINL. We want to thank them for taking care of us in the community. We have seen a lot of things that we have never seen before.
Okay. Let's now talk about education and, of course, countless issues to look at. I don't even want to go into the details because everyone is watching it, particularly students. And I'm not talking about the loans yet. But right here with us is Dr. Olatunji Alaza, who is the Honorable Minister of Education in Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for inviting me over to your studio.
Yeah. Compliments of the season to you.
Same to you as well, and Happy New Year in advance to you and the entire country. Nigeria, I wish everyone, all our countrymen and women, a rewarding 2025.
How hot is your seat as Minister of Education?
Obviously, you can imagine. So that's a political question. With a political answer, you can imagine. But Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his benevolence, made the decision to transfer me to the Minister of Education. He must have his own mindset of what he wants to achieve there. And I've been given clear mandates on how the President wants to reform and revitalize our educational system. You know, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu believes so much in human capital development. When we talk about human capital development, you're talking in the realms of education, health, and social protection. And that's why this president has invested so much of the country resources in these big sectors. And I'm pleading with Nigerians to be a little patient. I know things are a bit difficult, but the light is at the end of the tunnel, and I can assure Nigerians that the tunnel is not too far. We have a president that has built the base of our country so that we can have a sustainable economy now and decades to come. And when president make policies based on your own children and your grandchildren, you can bet these are good decisions. But if decisions are being made based on present, then you have to be worried. This president believes fervently in Nigeria, in the power of our youth, and the power of this country. And that's what this president has done in the last 18 months to move our country. And everyone will agree our fundamentals are much better. The base of our economy is stronger today. Now we just need time. But when we talk about time, we're not talking about 10 years from now. Several months from now, we'll begin to reap the dividend of the hard work, hard decisions that this president has taken that no president in the last 30 years have been able to take.
You know, Your Excellency, the Honorable Minister, I was asking about your seat, not the president's seat, but that's okay. I mean, looking at, the issues that you have to deal with, I mean, I can just imagine how, difficult those decisions even your ministry has to take, would be. But if you had to calibrate, or you have to do a graph, what are the issues that you say stand out the most? We've had the tumultuous takeoff of the student loan scheme, whether or not it has started depends on who is looking in whatever direction. We've had the issues of federal universities not getting electricity and consequently, the difficulties that follow that, and so many other issues like that. The issue of collaboration between the Federal Ministry of Education and state ministries of education and all of those challenges. Which of them stand out the most for you?
We have a lot of challenges, and we have to look at it in a form of microcosm. We can't begin to just strip out isolated problems. We have to tackle it together. You've mentioned several things, but we can't just take one of this problem and tackle one without addressing the entire chain,
most
value
certainly.
chain.
I'm just as you know, it's like it could be a network. You pull one, to an extent, you solve quite a few others. That's why I'm asking which one sticks out.
Everything sticks out. Okay. That's what we will fix a lot of the things you mentioned. Okay. But let me give you some stats here. Today, we are uniquely placed. We have a population of 220 million people, unique demography in the world. Of this 220 million people, 70% of that population is below the ages of 30 years. No one has that. No other country has that in the world. And more importantly, you look at this young population, They're very energetic, hardworking, eager to contribute to the society. But we need to give them the opportunity. We need to give them life skills to work. And that's what we will use education to do. Education is a foundational base of any society. Education builds a value, a freedom, and a future. On one side, let me give you some stats as well. We have 60 million Nigerians between the ages of 5 and 14 years old. Of these 60 million people, 45 million of that population is learning poor. When I say learning poor, that means they can't write or read age-appropriate tests at the age of 10, by the age of 10. We also have one of the highest number of out-of-school children in the world. Depending on the statistic you're looking at, we have about 15 million people. Of those 15 million people, 50% of those people have never enrolled in school. 25% have dropped out, and 25% falls within the Amajiri bucket. Now, this is a huge problem that we're confronted with. And we have to come up with a comprehensive solution to tackle this. I'll come and address some of the specific things you've mentioned. And several of those falls into our 6 priority areas. The Ministry of Education came up with the DOTS program, strategy plan to revamp our education system, which is data and digital. D stands for data and digitalization. O stands for out-of-school children. T stands for teacher re-education and reprofessionalizing a teaching profession. And S stands for skills acquisition. Now we've stripped out 6 high priority areas of this DOT program. Now I'll go over each of these 6 high priorities area that we intend to aggressively pursue from January of 2025 going forward. Number 1, we will focus heavily on TVET, Technical Vocational Education and Training. Today, we have a lot of these young men and women out there. They don't have life skills to function, to help themselves, contribute to the community and the society. So what are we going to do with our TVET? We have a clear 4-point agenda, 4 steps here. Number 1, we will now begin to incentivize young Nigerians, male and female, to go to school, to go get technical and vocational training. Number 2, we would pay those schools, the skill technical training centers, skill technical centers, the vocational enterprise institutions, and the federal and the technical colleges that will be training them. Will pay them substantial amount of money for tuition, for training these students, so that we can even begin to build a new value chain in that area, sector of technical education. Number 3, we would really ensure that these students get the skill sets they need. We're going to follow what I now call revert Pareto rule. What is Pareto rule? Pareto rule is what success. Success is 20% policy, 80% implementation. So what we're doing with this TVET is we would ensure that they get trained very well. 60% of the training, 20% of the training will be didactic, while 80% will be on-the-job training. So at step 3, we will qualify what we call mastercraft persons. That's the skill acquisition center, the artisans, where they will go and learn the trade itself. We're currently pre-qualifying all these areas into large-sized industries, medium-sized, and the artisans. So when these young Nigerians go, say now they want to learn plumbing, we'll go to an artisan, we'll quality assure and accredit those ones and say, how many of these Nigerians can you take? If it's 10, we'll pay them individually every month. Okay. But we'll quality assure and have a robust monitoring and evaluation process in place to ensure that they're giving them the right training. And once they're done with their training, we'll give them entrepreneurial grant to start up. And we've narrowed because it's the kind of skill set we're going to be getting these young Nigerians to training into just about 25. That now includes renewable energy, solar installation and maintenance, CNG retrofitting and conversion, and also mechanized farming.
And a number of others like that. I want to believe that there's a website where people can go get this information.
Of course. We're going to be launching this program in early 2025.
And
the
January?
first set of students are between January and February, but we're hoping that the first set of students will start training by April of 2025. Okay. And we'll have 2 enrollment cycles.
Okay.
April and September of 2025.
I know that there are money issues that Ine wants to discuss with you.
Well, before we get to the money issues, I'm happy to hear about the technicals of it, because we know that we can't fit everybody into classrooms. We have people with skills. Even in a country like America or so, you do have people who are celebrities today who do not have to go through the normal school, so the technicalities are there. But my problem with that is this. I have personally gone to some areas they call technical schools. These schools or these areas are supposed to be practical. Now, you say you're going to be working with members of the private sector, you know, who have all of this, and you say you're going to be monitoring. And I'm thinking, how realistic is that? What's your manpower? Who is following up? Do you have a department or something, you know, that's going to be following up? How many states are you doing this? Because before now, we've had skills acquisition and all of that, and it hasn't really been practical.
Let me tell you, this is completely different. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has a clear mandate. You know, it believes in the capacity of young Nigerians and the entire Nigerians. We're doing this differently, granularly. We've taken our time. We've done several things to get to this point. And when we roll it out, you can be rest assured that this will be extremely successful. Read my lips, extremely successful. Now, beyond the major thing you need, funding. The president has given us all the funding.
So you have 3.5 trillion. Is that part of it?
Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of it. That's why that's why you see this is the biggest budget for education.
Yeah, you went from 1.5 to 3.5.
Yeah, like three times. This tells you the importance President Bola Ahmed Tinubu places on human capital development. Significant budgetary increase, budgetary allocation to education, health, and a social protection program. You just heard the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs came earlier on, and he read out all the things he wants to do. Now, I don't want to deviate. Let me answer. Let me be laser focused on your question. How this will be different. We've done a labor gap analysis. As we train these people all across each geopolitical zone, Lagos, we know the kind of labor gap that we need in Lagos. We would train people in that area. We'll go to Gombe State. We know the kind of labor gap we need there. So we're using data. This is evidence-based driven intervention, because we don't have a choice there. We have these young men and women out there unemployed with no life skills. This is a huge opportunity to give them life skills. And on top of this, we also have what we're calling the TVET digital specialties. This is another area we've carefully created. UNESCO data today shows that today we have 685,000 vacancies in software development methodologies, almost 300,000 vacancies, 300,000 vacancies in cloud computing, 188,000 vacancies in proactive security, about 180,000 vacancy in AI and machine learning. And we have another 150,000 vacancies in connected technology, as well as about 60,000 vacancies in natural language processing. These are, if you aggregate these numbers together, you have about 1.3 million vacancies today that we can get Nigerians to train them and use and get jobs in this area. So what we're going to do, we'll be training university graduates, enrolling them online, supporting them. The ones that don't have computer, we'll buy computers for them. We will pay for their internet subscription so that they can get these 6-month, 8-month online courses and get international certification like Cisco certification, Microsoft certification, and then they can compete and apply for this job. So I can be sitting in Lagos today or Kaduna tomorrow, apply for this job, and service a Singaporean company or a company based in Hong Kong or a company based in India.
These beneficiaries, how do they get started? Do they just go to a website? No. What's the selection process?
We will roll this out carefully. While we're going to be working with NEFund to use their technology platform for this. And what you said about tumultuous rollout of the student loan fund, I don't agree with you, with all due respect, and I'll come back to that. NEFund has built a robust platform today. Let me just quickly address that actually. Has built a robust technology platform today. Our Nigerians, our students are benefiting from this initiative of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Well, this is the first. Let me tell you something. People came, I understand the psyche of our citizens have been battered. Their trust in government, it's at the lowest level. But this President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not make this.
For as long as he is in, just a second, Dr. Lassa, for as long as he is in government, he will distrust his residents. I'm coming somewhere. That's the reason I called it tumultuous, because listen to anyone. In fact, please, if you have any messages to drop for us, please go to
if you go to X, you see a lot of complaints and all of that.
The issues are not just going to go away. Just a second. So let's start from building trust.
Yes.
You talked about students, 70% below age 30. That is the age of distrust. That is the age of people who will not believe you, who will not trust you, even when right there they're standing in your face. So how do you build that trust first of all? Because all of these wonderful things that you've said, anyone listening says, we've heard this before.
Yeah, but this is different. Thank you, Ayo. This is different. Look at, honestly, since the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has gotten to government, look at the trajectory. When he was campaigning, he campaigned and told Nigerians, I'll be honest with you. I won't lie to you. I'll take the difficult decisions. And the president came in, took the difficult decision. I was at the Ministry of Health. Our first budget in 2024, we had the highest budgetary allocation to the health sector in 2024. You've seen a lot of the things that how our healthcare system is improved compared to the quantum of improvement in the last 1 year. Look at the second year. The following year, 2025, President even increased the budget. So he's meeting his words with actions. When I think it's just because of trust. When President came in and said, I'm going to launch this loan program, the NEFund, National Education Loan Fund. People said, oh, it's another lie of the government. But today, let me give you data. 482,000 Nigerians are on the NEFund platform. 386,000 people, students, have benefited from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu loan program. Today, this is data you can cross-check. And of this government has spent 102 billion naira on this loan program.
I'm sure
30
you have
billion of those for institution payment, and 62 billion naira in direct monthly stipend being given to students. If you go and ask them, go try it out, go to NEFund website and apply today, you will get a response.
Yeah, I know you have more data.
Minutes.
I know you have more data to give. Just a second. Yeah, okay. I know you have more data to give to us. Yeah. I will be asking you, okay, the president takes hard decisions. We'll be asking you the hard questions when it comes to the Ministry of Education, but we'll do that when we return from this break.
Okay, yes.
Please stay with us.
Thank you.
quality, now with the new look.
You've reached the start.
What kind of success do you look for? If it's the small kind, you can go at it alone. If it's huge, no matter how good you are on your own, you need partners. Partners who can help maximize the potential of your wealth. You've come this far, let's take you further.
Meristam, let's grow wealth for you.
Be a part of the end of year promo. Shop exquisite Swiss trade doors of all types and sizes, onyx stones and home interior furniture at the lowest prices ever. Don't miss out on top quality products at prices you only have to see to believe. Come, see what's available and make huge savings in the end of year promo. Offer lasts while stock lasts. Swiss Trade, a blend of beauty and security.
Strength, pride, optimism, happiness runs through our veins. High blood pressure shouldn't. 1 in 3 adult Nigerians may have high blood pressure. Do you? Omron provides a solution for checking your blood pressure anytime, anywhere for you to avoid critical cardiovascular diseases. To keep Nigeria healthy, proud, and happy. Omron blood pressure monitors are clinically validated devices that give the same consistent, accurate blood pressure readings. Give a gift that keeps giving this season. Get your Omron blood pressure monitor today and take control of your health. Distributed by New Heights Pharmaceutical. Omron. All for healthcare.
Thank you for staying with us. Dr. Olatunji Alausa is still with us here. He is the Minister of Education. Well, thank you again for being here. Thank you talked about NELFund, the student loan program and all. You know that one of the bodies that's been very vehement in their stance about the student loan program is ASU. And you, of course, are not unaware of their issues with the student loan program that, even countries like the United States of America, they're reviewing their stand because the federal government has had to, stand in the gap in certain areas for some of their people who, took student loans and are unable to pay back. So how, first of all, about ASU's position. How are you addressing that?
No, I'm not quite, with all due respect to you, ASU might have had that position when student loan, when the NELFund program was initiated, but I don't believe that's their position. We're actively talking, engaging. This government is actively engaging ASU. I don't think they have that same position.
Well, now, the last conversation we had with them was less than a month ago. Let me tell you, and that position is still what they hold.
Let me tell you, we have ongoing conversation with ASU.
Okay.
I don't want to mix issues here. Let's look at the merits of the student loan program now and look at the benefit in the university system. Now, let's talk about university source of funding. Now, most of our universities, polytechnics, and other higher institutions have relied heavily on government funding. But nowhere in the world that you get 100% government funding, even at the state-owned, government-owned universities, higher institutions. There are other arrays of areas of where they can get funding. And those are the areas we're deploying to the universities now. You look at other sorts of funding from research, the president has given some, I'll go ahead to discuss. I'm working with the special advisor to the president, Ms. Adiza Bala Usman, on the special advisor on policy and coordination with the president on developing the framework for National Development Research Fund that will fund our universities and higher institutions where they can get research grant. Now, if you heard in the news, TED Fund, we've cancelled foreign training by TED Fund. I'll tell you, in the last 4 or 5 years, in the last 6 years, TED Fund has spent 269 billion naira sending Nigerians out to go and train in Malaysia, in India, anywhere, or in other parts of the country. For every amount spent to train one person, we could have trained 15 people here in Nigeria. We've cancelled that effort with immediate effect. So we're going to unleash that money that capacity in a local tertiary institution. Now, as we're training these people outside, abroad, 70% of them were not coming back. They were staying there. So it was just waste of resources. So I've told you other sources of funding to universities, beyond government funding, research fund, capacity funding, a more fund from tech fund that will go to capacity, building capacity in our universities, polytechnics, college of education. I'm also working with a tech fund to ensure that our university and polytechnic consult services are rebuilt. From 2025, the consultancy work being done by tech fund, 50% of those will go to 50% of those works will go to our tertiary institution. 50% will go to non-tertiary institution consultants. That's building capacity, getting more money into our universities. Now, let me now talk to you about the loan program. Institutions are being paid. The NER Fund is paying tuition on behalf of the students. $30 billion went to our universities, higher institutions, universities and polytechnics just this 2024. We've budgeted, the president has approved another budget of 300 billion naira for tech fund, for NER Fund, the student loan program in this 2025. So figure out this amount of money year over year. A substantial chunk of that money will go to our tertiary institutions. This is new fund source, so new funding source, a source to our tertiary institutions.
That's for the tertiary institutions.
When we now talk about the students, let me finish. You say it's loan, but right now nobody is hounding the students to come and pay. Let them get education. We're creating more opportunities in the country. They will get employed. They'll be gainfully employed. They can pay some of this loan back, but nobody's hounding them now. And also,
doesn't that pose a risk to the sustainability of the policy?
No, there's no. See, right now we have to provide all the seed funding, and as this student, we're targeting students going into the universities now, going to university and polytechnics, and then as they graduate, our economy would have been would have a more robust economy, would have built more infrastructures, more opportunity. They will get jobs and pay. They'll pay. Go to other developed countries. People pay their loans.
That's one of the fears. My apologies, Dr. Alausa. That's one of the fears that ASU is expressing. Just a second. ASU is saying, imagine, let me quote, the president of ASU says, imagine a student graduating from the university with a loan of 5 million naira. Even me as a professor, I cannot pay back such a loan in 20 years. And he is saying that what's the assurance that fellow is going to get a job in 10, 20 years? And we know that that's a reality.
Good. That you just pivot me to a second high priority area of our 6-point agenda. I didn't have time to tell you the 6-point, but I know the time is short, but let me tell you the critical part. Our second priority area is STEM. We're redirecting our education system towards where the country needs it the most. STEM with 2 M, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medical sciences. With all due respect, we don't need that many people going to study liberal arts now. So, and that's why, because we want people today. If you study nursing, pharmacy, medicine, solar, being a renewable engineer, renewable energy, being a renewable specialist, digital specialty, you will get a job. So we should not be funding. This is my position, and I know some people might not like it, but let's look at what the country needs today. We should not be funding people to take courses that they know clearly that we don't have need for those courses in the country. And going into 2025, NER Fund will start beginning to narrow down, take out some of these courses and not fund them and not loan them. We will loan areas of studies, areas of skill acquisition, areas of study where we know there will be job. Today, if you go to nursing school, you get job right here in Nigeria. And even if you don't get a good job here in Nigeria, you can go abroad, get a job. There's huge need. And remitting money back to the country. That's another source of foreign direct investment. So we have the population. We're leveraging on this population to create critical mass of where we need it the most.
All right,
Not just going to university or going to Polytechnic because you want to go to university. And let me tell you something. We have Federal University of Technology. They're set up to provide you a set, narrow-focused training. You have them doing insurance, banking, Federal University of Agric, doing human resource management. That's not the reason why they're set up. And if you give me time, let me even talk about what we want to do with the Faculty of Agriculture. We call it a University of Agriculture. Do you have a minute to talk about that, or should I just pause?
I'm interested in agriculture, but it has a different question.
Okay, good.
Yes, Honorable, I just wanted to ask, we have all of this. The issue of sustainability obviously is a major one. The unions are there. Can we get an assurance there will be no strike in 2025?
You know, I'll tell you, we will do everything to work with all the labor union, ASU, NASU, SANU, everybody, every single labor union in the educational sector to engage them. I will meet them anytime they call me. 2 a.m., I'll answer their call. I'll meet with them at the shortest notice. And once we do that, we should have a situation where there won't be any strike. And in fairness, let's talk about ASU. In fairness, they're good people. It's the problem, not this government. Previous government, years over years, have sat with them, reached agreement with them, and they never made those agreements. But as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said, we shouldn't pity him. He asked for this job. He has inherited all the assets as well as the liabilities. So all these previous agreements, we're working with ASU now, we're working with SANU, NASU, to hash out each and every one of them, and we would meet those obligations within what is acceptable in a respectful and mutually agreeable way. This afternoon, I was just talking with the Accountant General on what we can quickly do. So we are working. We're working in the part that there should not be any strike. So we all believe in the future of our children.
Okay.
We want to keep our children in school.
Those agreements, they run into billions of naira. How soon do you think ASU can get some respite?
Don't worry, I will not come on TV and discuss
that. Okay, I was expecting that would happen.
Yes.
But let's talk about that. You know, the relevance of our curriculum. Or should I say curricula at various levels, you know, and their relevance. A minister, I think it was the Minister of Education at the time, had said on TV, on one of our programs, that our graduates are unemployable. And when you look at the national education policy, questions arise as to whether or not some of those programs are still relevant. So those courses of study are still relevant. There are those who would look at you, I mean, even some watching us right now, they'll say that there are universities that they teach computer engineering and they don't even know what a computer looks like. So, and then who will come to agriculture? Because agriculture is another one. We've interviewed an agricultural expert who is an academic and who says many people that they teach agric science in schools don't even have an idea of what anything is like. They don't want to go into agriculture at the time. So in terms of our curriculum, the review for relevance for this modern age, what's your program?
Okay, without a curriculum, let me go to basic education. A curriculum is good. National Education Research Development Council have just reviewed that curriculum for the basic education level. And one important thing that had been missing in the past was Nigerian history. We have now people who are 30 years old, totally disconnected from our history. It doesn't happen in any other part of the world. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has mandated that we put that Nigerian history back in the curriculum. Is back. From 2025, our students in primary school, GSS and secondary school would have that as part of the course of study in schools. Now the university, you're very correct. A lot of our universities are churning out unemployable graduates deliberately in courses that are not relevant today to our country. I'll be meeting with the with the vice chancellors of all our federal universities, sometimes I think the 12th of January, we'll talk more about this. We need to refocus the kind of education we give our citizens, our young citizens people that go to university. So once we start doing that, if you look at it, there's something that NUC has done. We have 70% standardized curriculum at the NUC level, and the universities have 30% leverage to add to that. But then it's not as if the curriculum itself is bad. It's because today, if anybody that is trained in medicine, that goes to school, anyone that goes to school in Nigeria today in medicine, pharmacy, dentistry, nursing, we're one of the best in the world. These professionals are well sought after anywhere in the world. Go to the US, go to UK, Nigerian doctors, Nigerian trained doctors, physicians, dentists, pharmacists, nurses, engineers are doing so well. It's not those core areas. We're talking about areas that we don't need. And that's why it appears that we're churning out a lot of graduates that are not employable. I agree with you. A lot of our universities need to be funded more. But the federal universities are well funded. TED Fund has done so well. Go to several of these universities. They have befitting building, lab, other infrastructure there, even instructional materials there. So we're not doing that badly, but we need more funding. And that's why we're retooling TED Fund to provide more of these instructional materials. And if you go to our basic education level, UBEC, we're going to restructure the way things are being done. A lot of things are deliverables from UBEC to state. And the fund will now be switched into what we call P4R, Program for Result, not just a disbursement. We know 360-degree accountability of where those funds are being spent. We have reasonable number of funding going to this level to a various level of education. We just need to now redirect and refocus and develop more KPIs, make everybody more accountable in what they're using these funds for.
Honorable Minister, this year we did have issues around electricity, in schools. Of course, with the new hike in the tariff, we had some schools had to be cut off. Is that a solved issue now? No, it's not a solved issue. We talk about liberalization, market-driven economy. You have the DISCOs, you have the GENCOs, but then they also have to recoup their money. But what are we doing as a government? We have clear direction on this. I've been working with the Minister of Power. We're building, we're going to be building mini grids, solar mini grids between 2 megahertz and 8 megahertz at tertiary institution. We have almost 40 lined up to be built. Beyond building them in a tertiary institution, we're also going to address those in teaching hospitals as well. In a few weeks, I'll be meeting with the CEO of the Rural Electrification Agency to map out which universities will benefit, which tertiary institution will benefit from this. Also, within TED Fund allocation for 2025, we put buckets of money to build these mini grids in our higher institutions. Go to a place like Federal University of Agriculture in Ochopo today. They are completely off national grid. They generate their energy on these solar mini grids. They have 24 hours power supply, day in, day out. So this is what we have to do. We have to now embrace renewable energy in energizing several parts of our society. We have to look, and it's clean energy. We're talking about ozone depletion, climate and education. That's one area we're pursuing with regard to our climate and education. So this 2025, we will put several of our higher institutions on these solar mini grids.
Okay. In all of this, we're talking about education. But most of the time, when we talk about these issues, we're looking at the policies, we're looking at the university administrators. Not often do we focus on the students themselves. Their direct, what they feel directly being in school. Students, for instance, will tell us sometimes that they have to pay for some things that they ordinarily probably shouldn't pay for. For instance, we still have situations where lecturers are asking them to produce paper for their research, as opposed to just doing a simple Google form, for their research and all of that. So that's just one example of areas in which the students need some intervention. At least let them know that government is concerned about them and what they feel as students.
And I'll tell you, students, young Nigerians, this government is very concerned about you. You're the future of this country. And more importantly, this president believes wholeheartedly in your innate capabilities. Now, it's what you've just said, the specific problem you've highlighted here, it's culture. We're still using paper in this area of digital age. And that's why this government, Mr. President, has given NIGDA the mandate to improve our digital literacy from 50% to 75% by end of year 2030. And this means we have to train about 50 million Nigerians. And we have a clear path. Let me tell you the specific plan we have for the education sector. And lecturers and teachers will be specifically trained. We'll develop a Cisco curriculum for them, that they will get this 6 weeks online training. And as students as well, we're deploying more digital tools in our schools, starting from secondary schools. In fact, we will be deploying online classes for nationwide for our GSS primary school, GSS students, SS students, to mitigate some of the shortages we have in teachers, in the availability of teachers. And as we do this, we'll give them a tablet to use. So once you build this culture from bottom up, going to now using paper, we should not be using this much volume, this quantum of paper. So it's cultural change. And we as a government, we are proactively pushing for that. And once you have the power of federal government behind that, we would make a lot of changes. And one critical important thing that we're doing is aggressively engaging a subnational government in moving our agenda forward. I'm going to meet with the national governor. I'm going to present to our governors at the National Governor Forum. I have another meeting to go meet with them in January to tell them how we're rolling out TVET strategy. I've met with the Council of Commissioners from all the 36 states and FCT, where we have a new approach to engage as subnational government. And I told the governor that, listen, please, just once you call me, tell me to jump. My next sentence will be, how high do you want me to jump? Okay. We can't do this without them.
Honorable Minister, this is just a thought. Talking about caring for students, because at the end of the day, this whole investment is about them.
Yes.
You said 70% of Nigerians are under 30, so that's quite a market for you. Now, sometimes you will not be able to know what's happening in the universities or in the secondary schools. But the people, the students, they know, they feel it. And unfortunately, sometimes no one hears them, or they feel that no one will hear them and no one will listen to them. Do you think it would be a good idea to come up with some kind of feedback mechanism from the students directly to a place where no administrator in the schools can control?
You're very correct. We're going to do that. As part of this advocacy, we will have voice-over survey students. We'll get intermediate surveys to see how they feel. And we're also going to quality assure our processes more. When I say quality assurance, we're going to quality assurance in the level of education we deliver to our students, how our lecturers and teachers are being trained, and we will have more direct feedback mechanism. We're building this huge database. Part of our 6 high priority areas are data and digitalization. We have set up, I'll be inaugurated early in 2025. I'll be inaugurating the National Education Data Implementation Team that will lead us to building this National Education Data Bank. And once we have this all set up, it's just People will go online, send their things, will collect this data. We have to. Without data, you can't survive. We now need to move ahead to use data, use technology. So what you've just said, yes, we're working towards, we will do that as well as part of our agenda to revitalize our education system.
Well, too many questions to ask you, but I guess we're going to have to postpone the rest of it.
Unfortunately, we couldn't talk about the University of Abuja issue, but I guess time is against.
Yeah, can we talk about the cultural thing?
Well, unfortunately,
we're out of time.
That's part 2.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Dr. Olatuji Alausa, Honorable Minister of Education, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you. I'm glad for having me. Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Okay.
And again, to Nigerians, Happy New Year, and we wishing you a very rewarding 2025.
Okay.
Thank you.
We look forward to that.
Now, when we return, we're still in this process of this whole review thing because it's not all just going to go away if the issues are not dealt with. What next? It's actually talking about security, something that Ini has been trying to talk about all the while, and that is with General Christopher Musa, who is the Chief of Defense Staff. That's when we return. Do stay with us.
Season's greetings from the Federal Road Safety Corps, Nigeria. Road crashes don't just happen, they are caused. The Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps Nigeria, Shehu Mohammed MNI, therefore enjoins all road users to avoid road vices such as speeding, overloading with goods, human beings and animals, use of phones while driving, night trips, driving against oncoming traffic, driving under the influence of drugs and alcohol, non-use of seatbelts, wrongful and dangerous overtaking, lane indiscipline, and other road traffic use violations. Always drive to save lives. And remember, road safety is a shared responsibility. This message is from the Federal Road Safety Corps, Nigeria.
Be a part of the end of year promo. Shop exquisite Swiss trade doors of all types and sizes, onyx stones and home interior furniture at the lowest prices ever. Don't miss out on top quality products at prices you only have to see to believe. Come, see what's available and make huge savings in the end of year promo. Offer lasts while stock lasts. Swiss Trade, a blend of beauty and security.
And cable. Great quality. Now with the new look.
Without security, every other conversation or plan, I guess, would not hold. It's security first. That's why we're heading to that space now with the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, joining us. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us, General, and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Great. I guess a good place would be, it's been an eventful 2024, but let's get your perspective, how it's been keeping the nation safe and some of those new challenges that the nation had to face this year?
Yeah, it's been a great challenge. But the good thing is that we are living up to expectation. We're getting the right support now, especially from Nigerians, from the government, and everybody is coming on board to understand that security is everybody's responsibility.
Yeah, when you say you're getting the right support from government, we could understand it's funding. From Nigerians, we know it's supposed to be information, and that has always been a gap that has brought a lot of challenges and weakness in the system. Has that improved, the connection and sharing of information from Nigerians?
Yes, it has improved. You know, sometimes some of these areas don't have network. So even when they have information to pass, to get across to us takes a little while. So when the information actually gets onto us, it might be a bit late because you are dealing with criminals that are highly mobile. So 1 minute they're here, the next moment they've moved. So if there's any delay in information, it takes time, and they've actually moved around.
But General,
it's getting better.
We've heard of situations where the villagers said they've reached out to the security agency and they got the information through, but they did not get the response until after the harm has been done.
They reach out when? You know, that's always a problem. When did they reach out to the security forces? And most times, because we do not have, most of our roads are not really that's so good. The greatest threat we're having is IEDs. So even when the troops are reacting, they have to be very careful not to step on any of the IEDs. So sometimes you find that there could be some little delays because of their response time, because they have to be very careful.
So would you say we have enough trust between the agents, the security agency, and the communities and the people?
I think it's getting a lot better. It's getting a lot better.
All right, and
we observe that the more we talk, the more we communicate with the locals, things are getting better.
Yeah, I like that you said that, General, because even talking to the media, we know that seems to be changing. But, you know, sometimes getting information from the security agency seems difficult. Perhaps there's a code, you know, that stops you from really opening.
Maybe in the past. I think we're being very proactive now. We communicate more with the media quite very easily. We have media chats weekly. Our doors are open. Whenever something happens, they get across to us, and then we respond as quickly as possible.
You know, General, we spoke with the governor of Bauchi State not too long ago, and one of the issues we put to him is still in this space of insecurity and the efforts. We recall that there was a point where some national leaders, including governors, said that, look, sometimes we know the people who are fomenting trouble. We know the bandits, we know the kidnappers, and that some of them were governors. And he said, look, even security agencies, sometimes they know the people, the places where these things are happening, and yet the situation still persists. And he proposed stronger political will. First of all, to his comments that security agencies are aware sometimes of where these criminals are, but then the insecurity persists. How do you respond to that?
I'm happy that you said there needs a lot of political will. The military can just do so much. Most times by law, because we are actually a law-abiding organization, we don't just hear speculation and just go and arrest anybody. Once we do that, you know, the courts again will start complaining. Everybody will start saying that the military is high-handed. So we are caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. We have to make sure that what we are doing is right there. We are getting the right information so that we make sure that we are professional in our conduct. But I can guarantee you that anytime we have any credible information, we follow it up. And once, I can tell you on a daily basis, we conduct arrests on a daily basis.
Can you confirm, General, that the situation we had in the past where officers, security agencies, let me just put it generally, sometimes some of them, maybe even from your end, go with some people to meet bandits, have conversations with them? Can you confirm that that happened before? Are those days over?
Well, we recruit from the public. So there will always be the good, the bad, and the ugly in every situation. So we cannot say we're 100%. But one good thing we do is that we also, as we work, we're also looking inward. And once we get them, we do not spare them, not at all. And we have always encouraged the public, once you get such kind of people, report to us, we'll take action. We constantly get to look at and make sure that we arrest anybody that is found doing that.
Well, the job you have is clearly not easy. And from some of the things that you have said, you are outlining certain challenges that you have had to confront in the year 2024. Can you itemize some others that Nigerians need to empathize with?
Well, like I said, we're professionals, and we know some of these challenges are evolving. Because asymmetric warfare is unlike conventional warfare, where you know who the enemy is. Now the enemy is within, the enemy could be family, could be friend, could be, so it makes it more difficult. And the laws makes it very difficult for us to also operate. You must be certain, you must be sure what you are doing. And so those are detailed things that we could do. Conventional warfare, you could cap a bomb the whole community and then nothing happens. But now you can't do that. And the only way you arrest somebody is when you see him carrying arms. Now, without him carrying arms, he's just a normal civilian. Except if you have any information as to his activities, which you can verify.
Well,
it makes it extremely difficult.
Yeah, we've actually had an interview with someone, I think it was based in Kaduna at the time, said, look, in their markets, they see bandits carrying guns to go price tomatoes and all those things. I hope that those days are gone. But, to the issue that you have raised about, the challenges that you have, the laws that limit you, can you speak to us a little more about that? And particularly, one of the major issues of the previous administration, and which the current president has also spoken about, is that of collaboration among security agencies. We've had and seen situations, including videos, where security agencies from different sides of the divide quarrel in public, and Nigerians see them, and they are, of course, sometimes they're really, really baffled. So can you speak to us about the area of collaboration? What exactly is supposed to happen? What are the things that happen? There are those who say that, look, in a situation where in a democracy such as we have, civilian rules such as we have, it's supposed to be the police leading the internal security, but then it will seem like the military is so frontal, and unfortunately, it's just something you have to do. Talk to us about this collaboration thing.
Okay. I can guarantee you that the collaboration is the best we've ever had. We work in synergy with all security agencies, from the National Security Advisor's Office to the Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Interior. All the security agencies are working. We meet regularly. We discuss. In the nature of work, yes, there could be times there could be conflict, but they are being addressed quickly. Areas we think we can address those issues is intensifying in our training. So we collaborate a lot in what we're doing, and you can see that unlike how it used to be in the past, now it's a lot better. We'll continue to improve on it.
All right, General. We would really appreciate if you could give us updates on issues around villages that have been overtaken by terrorists. We do celebrate some successes, but sometimes we just hear stories of some other village or community has been taken over, and because they're, especially in, the far-off states, Borno to be precise, it doesn't come here. Do we have any of our areas, space, communities being controlled?
We do not have any of our localities that's overtaken by anybody. Maybe we could have ungoverned spaces, which is natural in every country. The terrorists, because they are normally civilians, and so they are easily mixed up around. I give you an example like the Lakurawas in the Northwest. The Lakurawas were invited by the communities. They've been there for since 2018. In fact, so to some extent, the communities were even protecting them until when between them, I think whatever friendship, whatever agreement they had within them went bad, and then the Lakurawas started showing their true colors by attacking those communities, and that's the only time they started shouting. So that's why I say asymmetric warfare is a kind of operation that shouldn't start. No country should allow it to start with them because it's a very difficult thing to eradicate. In the Northwest, you are dealing with people that have ideology. Ideology is in the mind. It's not something you see on the forehead. So those are things you need to fight. There are those that are sponsoring them. There are those that are supporting them. We have the logisticians giving them information. They are just ordinary civilians. You think they don't know what they're doing, but they are giving them the taxi support for them to go. But I can tell you there is no community, there is no local government that is being held. Yes, we can have ungoverned spaces, which is okay, because we have forests, we have other areas. In the Northeast, we have the Lake Chad general area. Most of these terrorists are within those ungoverned areas, not within our own communities. We're sure of that.
But do we still have there used to be the civilian task force, kind of where villages come together and they have some groups. Do we still have that active? Are they working with the military or any security agency?
Yes. Naturally, because by nature we cannot be everywhere. So we try to encourage communities to raise able-bodied, well-mannered youths that will be able to assist us in ensuring that they give us adequate information, be able to identify all those areas where they hide their weapons and do all this. And so we work to them as much as possible. It has worked extremely very well in the Northeast especially.
What about the rehabilitation of terrorists, Boko Haram or not? What's the status of that? We seem not to be hearing a lot from that angle lately.
Yeah, it's ongoing. It's ongoing. We have the Operation Safe Corridor that's at Gombe. That's why we get them after the states have been able to de-radicalize them, rehabilitate them. Then we take them to Operation Safe Corridor. The thing we should understand is that now we have over 120,000 that have surrendered, especially in the Northeast. Some people say, why did we take them in? We should just probably tie them up and shoot them. I mean, just imagine shooting all of them. Now, what we found out during investigation is not all of them are actually partakers in those things. Some of them were forced. Some of them were conscripted against their will. So we had to identify who is who. Now, the main actors are being kept around, and those ones will face the law. It's just a natural DDR program all over the world.
So what about some of them that become sympathizers with them? Even the women, I hear sometimes when there's an attempt to separate them from the terrorists, they refuse. What about those group of individuals?
Yeah, well, I think that was a psychological effect. After they've stayed, probably due to fear and all these things, sometimes they wouldn't want to. But after a while, after they've been de-radicalized and talked to, we get them out of those areas.
All right, let's go to leaving the North now, the issue of IPOB, the sit-at-home order. What's the status there, sir?
I think it's a lot better. I was discussing with some people from the Southeast, and they told me the sit-at-home is getting worn down, is wearing off, because initially some people were just using that for their own selfish interests. So now it's getting better. We'll continue to work, and we're conducting clearance operations all through.
Well,
we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, that question will probably also lead us to asking what level of collaboration you're having with governors, particularly governors of the Southeast, in that regard.
Yeah, we're discussing with them individually and collectively. I'm sure the first quarter we're going to have a general meeting with them because it's important for us to work together. I've said it, military solution is less than 30%. 70% has to do with good governance, fairness, justice, equity. So we cannot solve the whole entire problem on our own. We need the political leaders to also play their own role. And that is very critical to the success of the operations.
You know,
we're working together with them, we discuss with them, we will continue to do more. 2024, you will see a lot of that.
Yeah, but discussing with them and collaboration, where is technology? We know that, I mean, fighting insecurity now is all about technology. We have data everywhere and all of that. How much of that has been grabbed into the system in fighting insecurity in the country?
Sorry, please, I didn't get that.
I was asking about the adoption of technology in this fight against insecurity.
Yes, very well. We've adopted technology. Now, technology is what's really giving us a lot of leverage. On a daily basis, we pick the informants, we pick the logisticians, we pick the commanders, and that's why generally the entire country, you see that things are getting better. We have gone further again to ensure that now we have direct discussion with the communities, which has helped a lot.
But the issue of kidnapping seems to be on the rise. I mean, from NBS recently, the amount that was used, 2.2 billion, I mean, it seems kidnapping is it now, unfortunately.
Well, I don't want to argue with NBS. That amount is mind-boggling. For the North, that is poor to have spent over 2-point-something trillion. I think it's something that we should look at those figures. But how it is, kidnapping is bad. It has become a social menace all over the country. We've had reports of individuals kidnapping themselves, husbands kidnapping wives, wives kidnapping husbands, family members kidnapping each other. So it has become a general business. And that's why it's important that whole of society approach to addressing this.
You know, General, I think you just led me to the relevance of the question that's been playing on my mind for a while, and that is one of the causes of insecurity from security agencies, including yours, and that which is poverty. How do you think we can address that holistically? I mean, you've said it. The military intervention force will take maybe just about 20-30% of the work. The rest has to be social justice and all these other issues that you mentioned earlier. Proactively speaking, practically speaking, what needs to be done? Because it is as a result of poverty that these bandits, terrorists, and all of them are recruited. We have information about that, and it's something that a number of people have, interviewed some of these people, and they have spoken to them about. You probably have the same information. It is because of poverty.
Definitely, there has to be deliberate efforts.
Okay. So what are you
to address poverty, illiteracy, and that is not the job for the military.
In terms of practical approach, what would be your recommendation? You are the ones, and your men are also in the line of fire to take on this. So you can't, I don't think you can just stand aloof and say, look, let them do what they have to do, because your men's lives are always at risk. So what are the things that you think needs to be done, and urgently too, particularly at the subnational levels, to ensure that the lives of your men are not in jeopardy for nothing?
Yeah, I'm very happy the federal government, the president has taken steps to ensure that we address poverty and hunger. I think if we are able to follow it through from the federal level to the state level to the local government level, I think we'll have better solution. No one individual can achieve this. It must be collaborative. So all hands must be on deck to ensure that we address these issues.
Okay. Well, just one of the, while we're still in the north, the name Bello Turji has come up a number of times. And I know he's just one of those kingpins that you have had, that your agency has been working on for a while. What's the update?
Yeah, the update is that since he knows we have been after him, he has been operating underground, and we are conducting shaping operations. What we have been doing of recent is we are picking everybody that is close to him. All those giving him support one way or the other, we have picked them, we have killed his commanders. It's just a matter of time.
General, what about Simon Ekpa?
I'm sure he's cooling off somewhere, and legal action is going to be taken accordingly. So I don't want to say much about that, but I'm happy that he has been arrested, and the government of the federal government have actually forwarded most of the requirements to the Finnish government. So I'm sure the right thing will be done.
Okay, so we can say that at least some of these issues are being handled, but I'm also curious from the other angle, General, the welfare of officers. It does seem like they do not have the opportunity to speak. So sometimes we have to be the one, the media has to be the one to speak. I know some time ago I had traveled to the north and I had met an officer who said he'd been posted and he's been there for over a year and he was practically in tears. And they said their welfare package is actually nothing to write home about. So if we want these men to protect...
I'm not sure he's a member of the Armed Forces of Nigeria. Because our salaries are being paid, our allowances are being paid as when due. I'm sure you can't remember the last time you had anybody complain about such things. Of recent, some increment have been made for the junior officers, and which is good. We are going to. The president has listened to us, and I'm sure they're going to do more because we think we deserve more. But I can assure you that we're getting what we need, and that we'll continue to do well.
And you're also getting the ammunition and all of the empowerment you need to do your work well.
Very well. Yes, we're doing that. And in fact, what we have done again with the signing of the DICOM bill, DICOM is now producing ammunitions. We're getting local companies that are also producing armor partner carriers, MRAPs for us. What we want to do, what we have realized is that been in conflict for 16 years now, it is important that we start producing what we need. One of the reasons why this conflict has been prolonged is because we don't produce the equipment we need. And you know, the country is facing so much on issues of economy, especially foreign exchange. So now when we produce, we use local currency in producing. We will get the required equipment that we're using, and then we'll project more. And that's why I see we're doing a lot better now.
All right, General, that's good news. But we'll stay more on that local production and especially small arms, the issue around small arms. That'll be after the break. So let's pay some bills, General, and then we'll come back to you. And we'd like to tell our viewers that Inside the Niger Delta program was supposed to air today at 9:20, but I'm sure you're enjoying our conversation. So please do bear with us. It will be aired on Thursday at 9:30, January the 2nd. So Inside the Niger Delta program will not be on today, but it will be on Thursday. Meanwhile, let's take a break. When we come back, we still have the CDS with us, and we'll continue with the conversation.
But why won't I be happy? Not just because it's festive season. It's moments of friendship and 60 million reasons to love. Small pepper.
Babes, this dress is given.
Don't forget the earrings. Those are 2 reasons already.
The best reasons will make your heart beat faster. And make every laugh worth it. It's all about holding hands, sharing and enjoying happy times together.
Have more reasons to be happy with Niger dramas, football, and more smiles on DSTV this festive season. DSTV, your home of entertainment.
Stay connected to the world with Channels TV Podcast and get all the trending stories. Simply log on to channelstv.com, click on podcast, select the program of your choice, and listen. Our podcast is available on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Tap the expertise you trust. Touch the stories that touch you. Anytime, anywhere.
We're still having conversations with the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa. He is the one right now on your screen. General, thank you again for staying with us on this conversation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, part of the issues that bothers one, particularly in Nigeria, in recent time, I think it was in the third quarter, the military reported neutralizing 65 militia leaders and more than 1,900 fighters in the third quarter, indicating active engagement against armed groups. Now, there are those who have said that these things happen sometimes because of collusion within, leading to the question of intelligence gathering. It's baffling sometimes when we hear that there's been an attack, because what's the job of intelligence if, you know, if it is active and if it is well done? So in terms of those collusions and in terms of intelligence gathering, where are the weak links, so that we don't just suddenly hear tomorrow that we didn't know that this was going to happen?
Well, one thing I want to say is that intelligence has improved. We're getting a lot of support from especially human intelligence, from the locals. I had said earlier that sometimes when they have this intelligence, because due to lack of network or means of conveying this information to us, it takes a little while. And because the terrorists, the bandits, the criminals are also highly mobile. So before the information gets, they've moved. Now, what you want to understand is that the Northwest is over 200,000 square kilometers. Maybe sometimes people don't really understand how large the area is. So it is not that easy that you are hearing something that is happening about about thousands of kilometers away, and then before you react, before you get there, things have happened. Like we mentioned earlier, we're leveraging a lot on technology. Remember, we don't produce this technology, we rely so much on them. If you have the drones, you have to rely on the satellite. This costs a lot of money. One medium missile, precision missile, is over $200,000. So once you fire one, $200,000 is gone. So imagine how much does it cost to buy a drone? How much does it cost to get an MRAP? So this thing costs a lot. So we're doing the best we can with what we have, hoping we're going to get more. But like I told you, the way out is when we start producing these equipment that we're doing. We're using a lot of trackers. We're using a lot of drone equipment. So a lot of things are happening now, and things are getting better. I'm sure you know that from January to now, things have turned a lot. This December alone, the holiday period has been wonderful. The number of people that have actually come from abroad to come and spend their holidays in Nigeria has been remarkable. And that's to show you the confidence that people are having that things are getting better.
General,
everyone is working as a team.
Okay.
And so that is what's giving us help.
My apologies for butting in. General, the lines, this issue of intelligence gathering, I'd like you to expatiate on it a little further, particularly in the area of engaging the locals in the communities. And here is why.
Yeah.
We have, unfortunately, strained relationship as a country between Nigeria and Niger right now. And one of the things we understand from subject matter experts is that the people on the borderline between Nigeria and Niger speak the same language. They have the same cultures. So what's your strategy for protecting Nigeria against these strays, this insurgency that could just spring on us because of, one, that strained relationship between Nigeria and Niger, and two, these communal clashes that could just spring on us at any given time? And before you know what is happening, it will become a diplomatic issue.
We have certain individuals that are playing politics with the whole situation. They feel that if they show that there's insecurity within Nigeria and Niger, it will play to their own advantage, which is very, very sad. And I've also realized that a lot of Nigerians are also happy when they hear, and it is very sad. They tend to want to believe in when there's a fake or falsehood against Nigeria. Nobody should hate his country. It's only here that I see a lot of people say a lot of negative things about our country. We must learn to be positive about our country. Individuals protect their countries. Even when things are bad, you stand for your country. Now, what is happening with Niger? Nigeria does not have any issue with Niger, not at all. The issue they had was with ECOWAS. And it so happened that the president of Nigeria is the ECOWAS president. And so people took that as for their own selfish interest to try to make it look as if it's a Nigerian Niger. We don't have any problem with Niger. Nigeria we're far way ahead, moving forward. So issues and conflicts with Niger is not one issue. Now, what is happening in Niger is that the military leader there is there for about 2 years. For some reason, he tends to believe that if he makes it look as if Nigerians are his enemy, he wants to rally his people around him. We don't have any issue with him. Remember, some months back, I visited Niger personally. I discussed with the Chief of Defense Staff. We all understand that we need to be together. We have a lot together that unites us than what divides us. And so that's what's important. And the mistake they are making is because they think they have issues with France, then we should have issue with France. Their enemy shouldn't be our own enemy. It doesn't work that way. When they were with France, we were still working with France. Now, because they're having issues with France, they think we should know. And like we said, the president has mandated us to ensure in Nigeria there will never be any foreign base in Nigeria. The armed forces of Nigeria has the capacity to secure Nigeria. We can only continue to train together, go on courses together, get ideas for them, buy equipment from them because they are the ones that produce them, but no military boots on Nigerian soil. That I can guarantee you.
All right, General, that's comforting. But, you know, the fears when we hear of issues around our neighbors is the issue with our borders. And I know it's no news to you. You would say, oh, Nigerian borders are really porous. Now that we have a new dawn from the picture you've painted to us, do we have technology being mounted or adopted in protecting our borders so that we can have some sort of control? And then, you know, things like this would not be so much of a threat.
Yes, I think the border management system is improving. The Minister of Interior is doing a wonderful, a remarkable job with the immigration, with the customs, with the civil defense, and the intelligence network, the national intelligence agencies, the DSS, and everybody is working through that. We are building on the management of the borders. Yes, we have a lot of porous borders, but I think recently Mr. President just launched the command center at the immigration center where we monitor most of the budgets. We still have some ungoverned areas. I'm sure you are aware also the airports now, we have the e-passage now where you can come in and you are identified. So that we ensure that anybody coming to Nigeria is somebody that we know who he is, where is he, and the kind of person he is. It's work in progress, so we'll continue to do that.
Yeah, but because, I mean, talking about the land one, I think the land one is one that really gives us issues. For instance, you talk about those who do a lot of tricycles and all of that, and you see, they claim to be Nigerians, but when you get close to them, it doesn't seem like they're Nigerians, and these are risks to the country.
Yeah, that's why one of the things after reviewing the security situation that we try to improve on is that we need to have a comprehensive census. These countries have their own census, they know who their citizens are. But we need to have a comprehensive census that will make sure that we know every Nigerian in the world. So that wherever you are, when you come in, we know that Nigeria is coming in and this guy is not a Nigerian, who this guy is. You know, the Sahel region is getting a lot of challenges. And because we all look alike, we have all lived together, so it's easier for them to pretend as if they are Nigerians. A lot of the criminals that are behaving, they are pretending that they are Nigerians. When you look down during investigation, they are not Nigerians. But the name, because they are carrying Nigerian issues, Nigerian documents, and they pretend they are Nigerians, everybody believes they are Nigerians. My appeal is for Nigerians to understand that we are doing so much all over the world. Nigerians are doing great things all over the world. There are very, very few people that are giving us bad names. We must identify and bring them out. And then we must also project those ones doing good. So that people will know that Nigeria is a great country and we have great people. The few ones giving us bad names should be taken care of quickly.
And I think it gets even more difficult when we look at the clashes between the farmers and the cattle rearers, and there are some adjectives you would use, and then it causes rancor to some people in our part of the in our northern part of the country, and this has been a very sensitive.
That's why I'm happy. That's why I'm happy we have the Ministry of Livestock. From the comments we've had, the issue of addressing this, we have to have ranches. If we're able to have ranches, we'll limit the movement of these animals. And once we're able to achieve that, it will stop the clashes between farmers and the headers, because it's very important that we stop it.
General, as much as we are concerned about the welfare of your men, in your asked that question the other time, you have also publicly admitted that some personnel of the Nigerian Armed Forces have been involved in trafficking arms and illicit drugs. I mean, that was about a month or thereabout ago. Naturally, you would expect that that kind of thing would raise concerns about internal discipline and the integrity of military operations sometimes.
Yeah, true. I agree. But like I said, we recruit from the public. And what we are seeing, I think what is getting there is the failure of family units. The family unit is falling apart, and so it's affecting every aspect of Nigeria. It's not only the military. But the good thing for the military is, as we're operating, we're also looking inward. We have standing court martials in all our divisions. All our operations have standing court martials. And we deal with it as quickly as possible. We do not hide. We do not take those things for granted at all. And they know it. So we continue to evolve new ideas on how to checkmate to ensure that it makes it difficult for anybody to get these things across.
You know, no, one of the things that, you know, has also been attributed to you, which, I mean, you've expressed a lot of frustration in. I mean, maybe it's gladdening to hear that at least DICOM is now producing arms and ammunition, because at some point your displeasure was unequivocal about the fact that certain countries imposed restrictions on arms sales to Nigeria. Now with DICOM, I mean, maybe that will get better over time, but how much is DICOM capable of now, and how do we manage the need to import for now until DICOM can fully take it all up?
Yeah, not only DICOM. DICOM is producing, and then we're also open up, having investments from abroad. Now we're dealing with a lot of original equipment manufacturers. We're signing MOUs with them to come and produce in situ in Nigeria, in DICOM. We have local companies in Nigeria that are also producing armor personnel carriers, MRAPs, helmets, body armor, and all sorts. So it's improving by the day, and gradually we're getting there.
You know, General, we have a few seconds to take a message or two, and when we return, we'll be able to take on some other issues with you, so please stay with us. In the meantime, another reminder that program Inside the Niger Delta that's supposed to air, supposed to start about 9 minutes ago, will now air on Thursday, so do stay with us. In the meantime, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
5 Africans, 1 in 8 blacks on a global plane is a Nigerian, a people of pride and pedigree, Jermaine. 200 tribes, 300 languages within our domain. We are the marrow of a people in an esteemed terrain. 36 states and 1 capital linked by a federal chain. We are diverse in our communities. We contain a vast main. From our Sahels to our hills and our forests of rain, our landscapes of beauty, our congruence is sane. Our cities are vibrant, our villages move plain, but in each is an energy patriotism doth attain. The rivers, the lakes, and the springs in our lane are the wonders of nature, our miraculous gain. Nigeria is our home, rock, and all that hope does pertain. Nigeria is undeniable. Greatness runs through our veins. I am the dance of life cycle, diversities contain. I'm the world's happiest people through life's rigorous campaign.
I'm the bounty, the essence, my ideal I maintain. I am nourished by my crop, by my soil, by my grain. I'm your neighbor, your friend, your child, and your dame. I am my brother's keeper. My brethren is my main. I'm the sound, the vision. I'm passion's own gain. I'm the spirit of a people, the soul, the membrane. I'm a warrior, a teacher, part of royalty's train. I'm a sage. I'm the soul. I'm what heroes ascertain. I'm the heart of Africa. I'm a vibe. I'm what echoes again. I'm the brilliance in brilliance. My achievements aren't pain. I'm a musical icon, Olympic gold I did regain. I'm a Nobel laureate with literature to entertain. I'm a scientist distinguished with a cerebral brain. I'm a nominee of an Oscar, a Grammy I did obtain. I'm a champion of soccer, in sports greatness I sustain. I'm the first black Miss World with splendor in my ingrain. I'm in the Vatican, I'm a Khalifa, my faith is my bane. I'm Ngozi Amina, shining where global power pertain. I'm Samad Analiko, my wealth, my fabulous mane. I am traditional, I'm cultured, I constrain my mundane. I'm a pain, my brain drain must be put in abstain. I am vain, do not wane. I'm all that hope does remain. I'm the product of sprain, which my history will explain. I'm a Nigerian, I'm humane. I'm a giant to reign. Niger's talents organically sanction autonomy to our culture and creators, from art to gastronomy. Music, film, and all sectors must be given in sonomy. Is the future astronomy, is our new oil metonymy, enabling environment in the colony through structured taxonomy. Or hail the ministry of our culture and creative economy.
Welcome back. 2024 in review on Channels Television. A couple of hours left before 2025. We've been speaking to the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa. Thank you so much, General, for your patience and staying with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. So I'd like to ask, the issue of small arms proliferation in the country, with the rate of kidnapping going on, there's fears that could be a challenge for us, if not now, in the nearest future.
Yeah, anywhere in the world is a big challenge, and that's why it's important that we must all put hands on deck to ensure that we expose all those ones that are dealing with small arms and light weapons. The Office of the National Security Advisor are doing everything possible to ensure that we recover all those recovered small arms and light weapons. Border management is being increased so that we ensure that we don't allow them bring these things in. But again, I want to use this medium to call on Nigerians. There are people that are being used to ferry these things into their own country. And because they think they are making money, they don't care. But these weapons are being used to kidnap, are being used to kill. And that's why I say it's important that not the leadership alone, even the led, have a role to play. We must say no to criminality. The leaders cannot achieve anything if the followers are equally part of the issues. Yes, maybe in the past there have been issues with trust. But I think things seem to be moving towards the right direction because we are working together as a team. We must remain positive about our country. That's the only way we can achieve success. It is important, and the whole of society need to put hands on deck for us to succeed.
General, what about those locally produced ones? Because when the police, they are parading some suspects, you see some of those things are actually locally produced. Is there a way to also deal with it from that front?
Yes, I think they're identifying those locations because some Nigerians are gifted into producing such things. If allowed on their own, if not being used positively, they will be used negatively, and that's why it's important. So the Small Arms Commission is going around to ensure that they retrieve those things, and then they register all those local manufacturers. Some of them could be converted. Before you know it, we'll be able to start producing our own kind of weapons. So it's not all negative, but it's important that we'll be able to harness their talents positively, because I think that's how other countries too started. So it is not just to catch them and then punish and push them underground, but to also bring them. We can take them into DICON, register them, and then be able to harness what they are doing and be able to produce. If we use them positively, it will be positive for the country.
But what would you say to individuals who have said that perhaps Nigerians should be allowed to also, for their protection, carry arms?
No, I think that would be disastrous. The important thing is that for Nigerians to take a responsibility that you see something wrong, report to the security agencies, and action will be taken. Sometimes it is when people keep quiet that you allow these guys to fester. There are states that refuse to allow them freedom of movement, and you see they left them there. But anywhere that they go in and the community receives them, then it becomes a problem. That's the challenge. I always give an example with the Lakurawas. They came in that they are the same religious sect, they are their friends, until they became enemies, and then they started attacking them. And that's when the cry came out. No community should allow any unauthorized person to come and stay with them. It is wrong. They are non-Nigerians. They have no room to, they shouldn't stay anywhere in Nigeria. You can imagine that even Niger Republic is accusing them we are using Lakurawas against them. Meanwhile, we're here killing the Lakurawas. So those are the dynamics. So that's why it's dangerous. We should never allow any unauthorized person come into our community. If we see them, we should not hesitate to report so that action will be taken quickly.
General, that leads me, I mean, you talked about civilians, and it leads me to this issue of civilian casualties in military operations. I know it is something that is touching even for you, and I know you said at some point that there are investigations ongoing. So, of course, naturally, there's been debates about how come and all of that. How far with that investigation so far?
For Tudunbiri, we've forwarded our reports. It was a professional mistake. It was not deliberate. Some actions took place at that age, and then the reaction was there. For this recent one that happened in Sokoto, investigation is ongoing, but I can tell you for free that we followed thoroughly. We found out we were following up with the terrorists. We knew where they entered. We followed that definitely, and like we said, possibility of secondary explosion could have happened. Why were individuals there at that time? Those are the questions we tend to ask. And that's why we appeal to Nigerians. Please, have nothing to do with them. Don't stay with them. Avoid their locations. Don't support them. Don't provide anything for them. So that when actions are being taken, so that you don't become part of it. Because if you are supporting them in one way or the other, you become a legitimate target during our own operations. That's why it's very, very important. We always feel very bad when innocent civilians are killed, and we do everything possible to avoid it. But I'm sure if you're aware that world over, during wars, such mistakes happen, but they will never be deliberate. We will never harm our own citizens.
Earlier on, you talked about the need for politics to play the role it ought to play, so that military interventions can play the role it ought to play in these kinds of operations that we are talking about. And we have heard quite a number of prominent Nigerians, politically exposed Nigerians if you like, say that sometimes it's political figures that are responsible for some of the insecurity we have. I know you may or may not want to admit that intelligence has shown that sometimes these are the issues. So, what then do the Nigerians do? Unfortunately, the cannon foders are the people who are the civilians that we're talking about, and some of your personnel. Where do we go from here, from what you know?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, yes, now.
Okay. I said that sometimes, I mean, you said earlier that politics should do politics, so that military will do military. But then we've also had information from time to time that sometimes politically exposed people are the ones responsible for some of the insecurity that your personnel have to come up and contend with. So we, unfortunately, have to deal with civilian casualties, whether from your people or from whoever else, and then your own men have to also, unfortunately, suffer some attacks from time to time. So where do we go from here, from what you know?
From what I know, like I said, it's important that it's all of society approach. Every Nigerian should take this as a challenge, that we must stop this menace from going on. Going forward, 2025, it's very important that we do things differently. We collaborate more with members of the armed forces. We are making a profit. We have made a solemn profit that 2025, we're going to put in all we have to ensure that we get more peace in Nigeria. On whether civilians or whether politicians are part of it, like I said, it's all of society challenge. It's all of society. It's not only the politicians. We have traditional rulers that are involved. We have gotten religious leaders part of it and all these things. But like I said, is that once we investigate, and if we find you guilty, you face the law.
General, just briefly, I'm just curious, what's your stance on state police?
State police, well, I think again is a political decision. For us, whatever decision the federal government takes is okay by us. I think that's very, very important. The idea is to enhance security within the general area. That's very good. But one thing I want to call upon is that we need this national census. If we're able to build up a comprehensive database, it will assist us a lot. If you go abroad, you commit an offense, it's 50-50 chance. The chances are very high that you'll be arrested. It's not witchcraft, it's because they have data. We need to build such data so that we'll be able to build up from there.
Well, leading to this question again, General, of civilian-military relations or military-civilian relations, well, it's arguable whether or not it has improved. And I expect you would probably say it has improved. But then people will still be afraid of any soldier. Yes, people will still be afraid of any soldier, whether he's carrying a gun or not. So is that collaboration? Is that communication?
Yeah, it's a mindset. It's a mindset, and perception takes time to change. Okay. Yeah, but I can bet you it's getting better. It's getting better.
Okay. Yeah. General, thank you so much.
It has taken years. Some people still hold, some people still view us from the aspect of during military regime. Things that were done during military regime. But now it's a different ballgame. I think we've shown a sense of responsibility that we're a lot different. We are very friendly. We want to protect the integrity of Nigeria and Nigerians. We're not going to harm any innocent Nigerian, not at all. We're only after the bad guys.
Well, the bad guys better be wary. Thank you so much for your time this evening. General Musa, General Christopher Musa is the Chief of Defense Staff, and he's spoken to us about securing Nigeria successes and challenges. Thank you so much for your time, and all the best all the time. Well, incidentally,
sorry, Ayo, before you go on, the general said there that, they are now very friendly. I don't know if Nigerians will agree that we have gone from friendly with the army to very friendly. I guess we have to do a vox pop on that.
No, let's just go to the military headquarters. We said it, the military headquarters, find out how friendly they are, where we can find out. Well, that's 2024 in review.
Well, I think it's been a journey from Sunday. I doubt if there's any major sector that hasn't been touched in this series, and that's why I should always stay with Channels Television, because we got it covered from every front.
So, well, there are some people who are already saying Happy New Year in Nigeria, so I say Happy New Year.
In Nigeria or outside Nigeria?
In Nigeria.
Oh, wow.
I can confirm that to you. They've jumped left forward. So, Amaya Makinedu, have a beautiful 2025.
I wish you the very best. What you couldn't achieve in 2024, you should achieve in 2025. I'm Amy John Mekwa.
There are 1,001 ways to start your day.
Whether you're in Lagos, Nigeria,
in London or anywhere in the world,
or online.
We all want a perfect start to our day, don't we?
7 a.m. Every weekday, we bring you a better way to start your day.
Hello, and a warm welcome to our house. I'm Melinda. Coming up on today's episode of the program.
Life is a stage. A bold canvas. Splash some paint on it. Spring some rhymes while at it. Then enjoy it on our house. We see life in beautiful curves, sparks, colors, and most exciting forms. Join us as we savor intriguing sights and sounds. At these times, Art House, life is art.
We live in an era of massive innovation, true ideas that impact every industry and society. Cutting-edge technology that gives you a glimpse of the future. Intuitive minds that meet the demand of a revolution of talent. The future of enterprise lies in the digital world. It's full of questions and yet solutions. Join us on Tech Trends as we bring you the finest blend of technology and the latest happenings in the tech space. Tech Trends, the tech edge you need.
Warri Refining and Petrochemical Company, as it is today known, is one of the 4 Nigerian-owned refineries designed to process a combined capacity of 445,000 barrels a day. Just like the other 3, 2 in Port Harcourt complex and the Kaduna, years of skipped maintenance practice, neglect, and poor funding had eventually brought it down to mere bare bones. For the records, the last time this refinery experienced a turnaround maintenance was in 2004, leading to the decision by the GMD and MPC then to shut down the plant in 2019. But while the doors were shut, the federal government initiated a rehab process of all the Nigerian refineries, this inclusive, but with a different model. On this occasion, and in a rather surprise outing, the doors have been opened as it is official. Warri Refining and Petrochemical Company has started processing crude oil yet again. From the control room to the process plant, the pumps, the columns, the CDU, the crude distillation unit, and more. All are wearing a new look as the machine sounds hit the atmosphere.
This plant has 3 stages. We have started the plant 1, which is, we call it Area 1, the fuels plant. It is able to produce AGO, kerosene, naphtha, and also a blend of fuel oil. And these are high-grade quality products that are required in the country, and we may also have a need to export them. So it's going to give us cash. This company will make money, and the promise of Mr. President that this country must be a net exporter of petroleum products is already happening. The chief leads with the strong leadership of the GCO, were able to deliver with his can-do attitude. So the charge made by the board and the GCO is that we should set up momentum and ensure the other units are up and running.
It's been a long-drawn battle to rehabilitate this plant, but one officials here say is better late and working than never. Currently, as we speak here live at the depot area of the Warri refinery, this refinery is processing 75,000 barrels of crude oil a day. It has started today and it goes down in history as the second national refinery that has been turned on in the campaign to bring back and resuscitate and bring back oil and restream all the nation's refinery. So this is it. You can see the flare stock there, and that's clearly an evidence that there's processing going on, there's crude in there, and the trucking out going on out here, and that's what the situation is here at the Warri refinery. From Warri Refinery Refining and Petrochemical Company, Olu Phillips reporting for Channels Television.
Professor Sylvester Ebigbaha, a professor of graphic design and communication who heads the Department of Fine and Applied Arts at the Niger Delta University in Yenagoa, Bayelsa State, presents his latest collection in this solo exhibition, which began with an inaugural lecture before the guests were ushered to the back of the hall where the images have been set up on easels.
The title of my exhibition is Across Cultural Divide. Nigeria is an heterogeneous society. As a whole, it is made up of different languages, cultures, environments. This affects the way we live, our activities. So for a people to be developed in a sustainable way, it has to be keyed to their sociocultural environment, their knowledge, attitude, and practices.
He tells us about what inspired this solo show and the 17 images which are being displayed today, either done during the 2020 pandemic or 2022 ASU strike.
The inspiration behind this work are many. We have a nation that is highly blessed with different people having different cultures, so rich. And this diversified behavior is enough to produce varied, tangible and intangible material culture. So when we harness these differences from the north, the south, the east, and the west, the result, the effect is a salutary one.
Across Cultural Divide is the title of this exhibition, which shows Nigeria's hybrid nature, and for this artist, understanding a society's culture, knowledge, preferences, and practice makes development interventions more sustainable.
How does double digits affect your purchasing power? What about ballooning debt profile and scarce FX? How's it affecting your business?
The federal government is turning to the money market to fund this deficit. Are yields contracting or expanding? Is this a good buy for you?
Inflation drives MPC decisions and affects sentiment at the equities market. What is happening to your investment?
Or would you rather go digital? We track all the volatility in the crypto market.
Get the answers from the business team every weekday at 1 p.m. on Business Incorporated, only on Channels Television.